Let me make this bigger.
All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another session of the Gavakar Podcast. You guys already know my name is Will. I'm the top Toko, host of the number one Polynesian podcast in the world. Welcome to Wednesday Hot Topics. As you guys already know, we discuss hot topics every single Wednesday. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much. And as always, all the Gava drinkers out there, cheers to you guys. We have a great show for you guys. Let's get your popcorn ready. And let's get it.
What are we arguing about?
A man is gonna do what a man wants to do.
VVS all on your wrist. Make you my wife, you no longer my bitch.
Let's get it. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show, the number one Polynesian podcast in the world.
Dripping in Versace. All these other hoes trying to copy.
Women tend to bounce around in relationships. They can't stick and stay in a long-term relationship.
Again, don't agree with this. Just
So let's say, are you still in it? Are you still in it?
no. So you're basically saying I'm a whore.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
So I just wanted to take the time and make this video to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Love all the freaky things you do. My love was way overdue. That's when you came out the blue.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Oh, what'd you say, Natasha?
Sorry. Okay, intro. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hopefully, you guys can hear my sound effects. I'll definitely have to see if I can fix that. But nevertheless, thank you so much for watching. I see Underground Roads and I see MZ Cower always be the first ones already in the live chat. Thank you so much. We have a great show for you guys as always. Thank you so much for all my subscribers out there, people that support my channel. Thank you so much. As always, don't forget to subscribe. We have weekly shows I'll always host every single week. Today's Hot Topic Wednesdays. Of course, don't forget to tap in for tomorrow, Thursdays, is the Masculine Mind, where we focus on masculinity, self-development, and purpose for men. On Fridays, we talk about Pacific Islander community. We have all Pacific Islander panel in the studio. And of course, on Saturdays, for all the single people out there, we talk about modern dating and relationships. As always appreciate you guys being part of the live streams. Don't forget to show some love in the live chat. Let's get the live chat popping. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, we have a great panel of Pacific Islander men and women joining us tonight. We have a great topic to discuss about woke culture. So definitely want to hear what you guys think. And so let me know what you guys think on the live chat. But as always, thank you so much. I'll be doing something new for tonight's show. I know a lot of you guys reach out to me. You want to be part of the conversation and you want to talk to the guests, but you guys don't want to be viewed publicly on the live stream. So if you guys want to be part of, if you guys have any questions or if you guys want to be part of the panel and have an open discussion after the live stream, I'll be posting the link on the YouTube live chat. So that way, if you guys, I'll cut the stream at the end, and for the last 30 minutes, you guys will be able to come on and have an open conversation between us. But that content will be posted on my locals account, where I only post exclusive content after the podcast. Of anybody out there that want to be part of the conversation, so that content is going to be posted on my locals account. So I'll definitely be dropping the locals link on the description. So if you guys want to donate to my channel and subscribe and only see exclusive content that's not shown publicly on all my other platforms, you can definitely subscribe to my locals account. But I'll definitely remind you guys at the end of the stream. If you want to, of course, don't forget, this is a public stream. So I have the main panel for tonight. But if you want to be part of the podcast, I'll post the public link on the YouTube live chat. You guys can join. So if you're watching this for the first time, if you're watching my channel for the first time, you can definitely tap in that link and you can join us live on this stream and add on to the discussion. So whether you're a Pacific Islander or not, I'm always welcome to hear different perspectives, regardless of who you are, as long as you keep it respectable. And you come on and be able to share your opinion, that's fine. But if you come on here, start hating and say some crazy shit, I'll definitely kick you out. Okay. But nevertheless, thank you so much. Shout out to everybody. And I see Bill Foster here for the first time. Never seen that name before. Bill Foster, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. You said you were gone for a minute. Yes, I was gone for a minute. Had to build this studio. Finally did it. So I'm back here better than ever and ready to go hard again. Like always, I always tell you guys, I'm I put in work for you guys to give you guys the best quality content. So the best way you can do, if you see value in the content I provide for you, the best way you can support me is like and subscribe. And of course, join my locals account so you can see my exclusive content only for that website. Okay. Nevertheless, Bill Foster, thank you so much. But let's pass it to the panel. Panel, as always, thank you so much. I know it's been a minute since we last saw each other 8 months ago. I think it was almost last year, 2022. But it's good to see everybody back, and ready to do another podcast with you guys. So let me pass it to the ladies. Give everybody a quick intro. Everybody out there that's watching this right now, I'll start with you, Tui. Tui, good to see you. If you give everybody a quick intro real quick.
Hi, my name is Tui. I'm here in Waianae, Hawaii. I'm a videographer / filmmaker, and I'm here to talk about all of you woke bastards and all of the fun stuff that I've experienced seeing here today.
All right, Tui. Tui, good to see you. Good to see you back. Thank you so much, Tui. I see Underground Rose already with the $4.99 Super Chat Super Sticker. Thank you so much, Underground Rose. I just gave you an air horn sound effect. Hopefully you can hear it. My sound effect is not working tonight, but hopefully I can figure out what the issue is. But thank you so much, Underground Rose. And as always, for everybody out there, if you have something to say, if you have something to say and you want to support my channel and donate to my channel, the best way to do it is show it through a super chat. All super chats will be read on the screen, and I'll definitely give you some love. So anything you see that you want us to talk about or discuss, or you want to get a response from the guest, the best way to do it is ask it through a super chat, and I'll definitely give you a priority. And thank you for your donation. Thank you so much. And shout out to you, Underground Roads. Thank you so much. I know it's your bedtime, but thank you for showing us some love right before you go to sleep. And I know you got to hit the gym early tomorrow. Okay. But let me pass it to Natasha. Natasha, as always, thank you so much. Go ahead and give everybody a quick intro.
Yo, my bad. I thought that my mic was muted when I was being real excited about your intro. My bad. But hey, I'm Natasha. I'm one of the early day patrons of the podcast, and I'm stoked to be here to talk about and unpack issues and topics that concern our PI community. So,
all right, thank you so much, Natasha. As always, excited to have you on. And Natasha, you guys see Natasha this Saturday live in studio. I'm excited for Natasha. So we're gonna have a great show for you guys. I'll see you. I'll see you again, Natasha. Thank you so much. I'll pass it, and the one and only, he's been gone for a minute, but he's gonna get some reps in tonight, and he's definitely gonna get back to it. But Savage Island, as always, thank you so much, Stoko. Go ahead and give everybody that WWE superstar intro.
No. I'm Savage, and I'm honored to be here. Still recovering from an illness, which, by the way, do not sleep wet in air conditioning. Please don't do that. You'll get sick for sure. But yeah, man, hopefully we can talk about this. So yeah, thank you, Will.
All right, no worries. Thank you so much, Savage. And I see Joe on the chat. Hey, what's up, Joe? Good to see you. All right, thank you so much, Joe. I hope everything's well with you, brother. But nevertheless, let's get right into it. You guys are in the topic. It's right on the bottom. All right, the topic we're going to discuss tonight: should Pacific Islanders be concerned of the woke culture? Okay. I know this is a live stream, so depending where you streaming this from different international countries, but all of us on the panel here are living here in America. So obviously, if you live here in America, you know what woke culture is. So we're definitely going to talk about it tonight. Obviously, you guys see what's going on in the real world about the woke culture. So we're going to talk about, pronouns, LGBTQ. All right. Kids giving consent to be able to change and transition themselves to a different gender. Trans people will be able to compete in sports. So we're going to talk about a variety of different topics. And obviously, I think for me personally, I think this is something that we as Pacific Islanders need to be aware to talk about, because a lot of this woke ideology is on social media. And especially the younger generation X, Y, and Z, and millennials, they grow up in social media. So these kids are constantly on social media. So there's a lot of programming and conditioning that's happening if you don't pay attention to what type of content children are watching. And of course, Pacific Islanders, and especially the younger Pacific Islanders, we all live here. They all live here in America. So I think it's an important discussion. I don't think I've ever seen anybody on the internet or online having this discussion, but I do see some of the effects of woke culture starting to be influenced within our own community based on my personal life, or based on my certain friends and certain the younger kids and my cousins. I start to see the woke ideologies instilled within them. But so I think this is important because a lot of these ideologies are starting to be implemented into law. So whether you disagree, whether you agree or disagree, but I think you got to, if you pay attention, there's a lot of the things that they're that's considered woke, especially that's far left. It's starting to the government started to pass it into law. So a lot of you, some of you guys are parents, some of you guys have siblings, and some of these things are being indoctrinated into schools and being taught in schools. So I think it is an important discussion to have because it is affecting us. Because even though we are Pacific Islanders, and I know sometimes we all live in a bubble in our Pacific Islander culture, but we do live here in America. So we have to be aware of what's going on because it can be influenced. It can affect you and it can affect the people around you. Okay. But nevertheless, thank you so much. But let's open up the conversation and just share our general thoughts about the topic tonight. And of course, I have a variety of things that we can discuss, and we can go right into it. So let me start with the ladies real quick. I'll start with you, Natasha. Natasha, what are your thoughts about, should Pacific Islanders be concerned of the woke culture today that we see today in 2023? Go ahead, Natasha.
So just before I even give my 2 cents, can we just get a clear, concise definition of what what woke is in terms of what you're wanting to talk about, so I can make sure that we're on the same page, or if we're not, then I can, because I know what I have my own understanding of what woke culture is.
Okay.
But I feel with that, just so we're clear.
Okay, so what's your definition of the woke culture?
So my understanding of woke culture is being informed, being educated, and conscious of social injustice, racial inequality, and just kind of civil rights, just kind of being in the know of things that may not be for us, that may be painted to be for us, and etc. So that's my own definition. Because I know, to me, when you sent the text, and you mentioned woke culture in addition to left ideologies, to me that can mean a variation of things. And so in terms of woke culture, I definitely do think that there is a lack of importance of being in the know of what's going on altogether. I feel with my own experience that being in the know of politics and what's going on in the world, we always just I've always been raised in a space that's oh, well, it's not really a big deal, what is one person to the rest of the world kind of thing. And that's why for me, I growing up, I became obsessed with news and stuff, just wanting to know what was going on, because I always felt well, it doesn't matter the demographic that I live in or where I live, what happens around me and what happens on a wider scale, it ultimately does impact me and affect how I grow up and how I, receive things, perceive things, and whatnot. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Natasha. And I just dropped the public link on the YouTube live chat. So if you're watching this right now, as always, this is a public stream. This is a public panel. So if you want to jump on and be part of the conversation, whether you agree or disagree, especially those who may agree with the woke ideologies, I would love to have a conversation with you. But nevertheless, like I said, don't forget to click on that link if you want to jump on. I'll pass it to you, Tui. Tui, what's your thoughts? And of course, Natasha brought it up. What's your definition of being woke in 2023? Go ahead, Tui.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know what the younger generation is considering woke nowadays. I know that we have extreme leftists who have coined woke as a different term than the term that I grew up with, because I grew up with stay woke, young queen, stay woke, young king. And that meant something completely different than it does now. So, I mean, as like a young adult, my life was overrun with, I guess, I don't want to say leftist ideologies, but like not to some degree leftist ideologies in terms of being more open to progress in in um, in terms of changing like the nuclear family, homosexuality, sexuality in general. You know, like my my peers and I were like we were, I think, being eased into that kind of woke culture, where we were just starting to be more open about sexuality and drugs and um, uh, political.
Oh,
Nowadays, I think it's a little different. I think it's the same, but it's more extreme. And I think because the younger generation doesn't have a lot to, they don't have the same kind of causes and fight to stand for. So they're trying to find any little thing to use as a platform to make America better. And in turn, like, I think it's becoming a little extreme to the point where nobody really knows what the woke term means, and they're using it as like it now has a negative connotation. Oh my god, I know that was like a long roundabout way of kind of explaining it, but I just wanted to cover that the woke that I grew up with is a different kind of woke that is now. Like I definitely think that like our pop culture, Hollywood production, social media are all driven by by new age woke mentalities, and I think it's time to like kind of change that and like get everyone back on track to like, I guess not to backtrack to where things were, but to get everyone out of the chaos that is woke culture now. Because I think the difference is social media has become social media has become this huge yes factory where like kids who had a box to like push against their boundaries before, like when I was a kid. Nowadays nobody is there to tell anyone no, and so like you have social media influencers telling all these kids yes, like, you feel what you feel and feel it, and there's no end, like that's who you are now, instead of telling them that they're going to get over it, like it ends, the way you feel ends, and now there's no one to tell them no. So like we have all these idiots running around on social media telling kids yes, like you feel like you're a non-binary trans carrot, so you're gonna be a carrot for the rest of your life. Go dig a hole and put your head in dirt forever. Like no one's telling them that they're gonna get out of this mindset. They're gonna grow out of it. So
all right, no worries. All
yeah.
right. All right, thank you, Tui. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Before I pass it to Savage, as always, I see you guys on the live chat. Let's get that live chat popping. And of course, I see 15 people watching this right now. Let's get those likes up. All right, let's press that like button. That's the best way you can support my channel. Press that like button. And don't forget, if you have any questions or anything you want to say for me, for the panel to respond to and react to, the best way to do it is ask it through a super chat to be able to donate to my channel. And I'll be able to post on the screen, and then we'll react to it. And they also give you a shout out, right? So drop a super chat. But let me pass it to you, Savage. Savage, what are your thoughts to open up the conversation for tonight's topic? And of course, what's your definition of woke? Go ahead, Savage.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I ask for patience while I'm talking. My lungs aren't as strong, but I'm gonna do my best to talk. I believe Tui is too woke. They keep shutting her down. But yeah, my thoughts and prayers to Hawaii right now in Lahaina. And shout out to Montgomery, Alabama. But yeah, woke, man. When I hear it originally, it was awareness, right? It was awareness to what was actually going on in the community, and um, somewhere down the line, it's been diluted, polluted, and it's misinformation now. I used to be woke. It was cool to be woke. Now it's like, if you're woke, ew, get the fuck away from me. I don't want that woke shit around me, but like, um, yeah, when I was growing up, it was underground, right? It was underground. It was nitty gritty, and um, I want to say, in at least in origin, the Black Panthers, um, you know, woke. It's originally a black, concept. It was the man, stay aware to the bullshit, and natives and then Mexican, they adopted it, but nowadays I don't like it. Being woke is, yeah, it's everything you don't want your kids to be around. It's problematic. I don't listen. Pronouns, gender identity, whatever. Hey, your preference. I'm not gonna tell you what not to do and all that, but you cannot, as a parent, you can't push that on our kids. You can't do that. Like this is where woke needs to stop. Oh yeah, we need to really understand what our children are, analyzing and going. The fuck we don't. What? Why is it my job to be a parent, to walk them and guide them? Now you want to take the reins and basically dictate what you can do with them? Listen, fuck that. Fuck you. Like, for real, because this is, I can feel it. If you need science, and this is an example, please do not take this wrong. If you need science to prove you're a woman or a man, it's unnatural. In my culture, the ancestors would not stand for this. There were people who could be a man and identify as a woman with no need of surgery. There was no problem with that, right? And, vice versa. But nowadays, chop it off, and I'm a woman because my friends tell me. Ooh, no, 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 no. That kind of bypasses the woman, like the actual woman who knows she's a woman, and now you want to go into school and teach otherwise? No, you can't do that, because it goes against naturality, nature. That defeats the purpose of who the ancestors were, and I, for one, will not stand for that. But that's just one aspect, and man, I can already feel it as we get deeper into this. Yeah, things are gonna come unraveled, but the PI community is far from woke. And if we were aware of anything, it's that we're dying of obesity, but we're not really aware of what the actual root of our disadvantage, which I believe would be the church. But yeah, that's all I got right now.
All right, thank you so much, Savage. Let me know if you guys can hear my sound effects now. Hopefully, this is better. No, nothing. All right, okay,
Little bit.
Okay. Little bit. All right, I'll definitely work on that sound effect. All right. Nevertheless, thank you so much to the main panel. I see everybody on the live chat. Let's get that. Thank you so much. Let me know what you guys think on the live chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget, I just posted the public link on the YouTube live chat. So if you want to jump on as a public guest definitely jump on there so we can add on to the discussion. I guess my original thoughts about what I think about when I think about woke, I think what comes to mind for me is subjectivity over objectivity. I think today that's what woke is. It's just based on how everybody feels. And I think what's happening because we have to create a tolerable environment and acceptance for everybody based on how everybody feels, and we disregard biology and we disregard objective truth. I think that causes a lot of problems. And I think what the woke culture is, I think it's causing a decay in morality and moral values, which I believe morals and values has always been the foundation of every successful, long-standing society. It's always based on strong families. It's always based on strong values. And I think we are getting away from that. And I think my problem with the woke culture is this ideology that we have to accept everything, that we have to accept everyone, and we have to create some kind of support system or pass things into law to be able to make sure that everybody is included. And I think that's the problem, because in every great society, we have to define what's good for our society and what's bad for our society. So that means we have to understand that there are things that we have to accept that's good for the family, for the community, for the children, for the future. And we have to draw a line that this is things that we cannot accept. And I think that's why we had strong morals and values. But if we have an ideology of people that we're just going to accept everything and tolerate everything, and I think that's a problem, right? When we know, like, the biggest one I see is like promiscuity, right? Everybody knows that promiscuity has a lot of negative consequences to families, to women, to society in general. But so if we see a behavior that has negative consequences that's causing more harm, that's something that we should draw a line. Like, I'm not accepting this. It's causing harm. It has negative effects. But now, if I say that promiscuity is bad and I don't accept it, I'm labeled as a what? Misogynist. I hate women. All right. I think that's where the problem is if we can't have, if we always accept everything, if we have a culture that's accepting everything, regardless of how bad or how good it is in society, then what we're going to see is, I believe what we're going to see is a decay of morals and values. And as morals and values decay, I think people's lives are going to be, I think people are going to suffer a lot more. I think people are going to face a lot of consequences. I think people are going to face a lot of bad situations that they're never that they haven't prepared for, and real life is going to hit them. And if they don't have any strong morals and values in the community, we have some kind of assistance for those people. That's why we see a lot of kids have a lot of these woke ideologies of just doing things based on how they feel and disregarding the objective truth of how those choices are going to affect them in the future. Because every single choice you're going to make, there's going to be a consequence. It's going to be a benefit, regardless of how you feel. So if you think that, you know what, I don't care what I do to my body, it's my body, I'm going to post it, whatever, online, whatever, that's fine. That you're an adult. But I think the question we need to ask ourselves is this good for us? Is this good for our people? Is this good for families? Is this good for children? And if we don't accept it, then I think as people, we have to have the strength and courage to say, no, this is not good. This is not good behavior. I don't accept this. And I think that's okay. We don't have to tolerate everything, right? We don't have to accept everything, right? I'm sure there's a term. I'm sure everybody on this panel, I'm sure there's bad people and toxic people, right? You don't have to accept them into your life. We have to cut them off. It's the same thing with behavior. If we accept every single behavior, regardless of how it affects our society, I think that's where we're pushing. I think there's a lot of consequences, and we're pushing people to face realities that they're not prepared for. And I think without morals and principles and values that our ancestors have had through the beginning of time, that's guided them for thousands of years to be able to survive and to make it to this point, and then we're going to disregard the knowledge of our ancestors, their values, and then the principles that they've had for a long period of time, and we're just going to throw that away and just go based on how we feel. You know what? Fuck good and right and wrong. Fuck values. Fuck morals. I'm just going to live my life based on how I feel, and my reality is based on how I feel, and I'm going to disregard everybody else and what reality of the world and how it affects me. And I think that's a delusional type of mindset. That's a dangerous mindset. And I think that's especially we live in social media when a lot of these ideologies is being pushed towards our children. So
Can I add 2 cents to that?
yeah, go ahead, Natasha.
So I think that on a bigger scale of talking about acceptance, right? To me, if I'm being really honest, like gender, sexual preference, all those things, that's a very gray area for me because I come from a space of being raised with I'm a non-judgment zone, and to each their own, and everyone do, they make their own choices for their own life. I just need to ensure that I'm contributing or sewing into that person in like a positive manner, like based on like my morals and values. So with that said, I think that in the concept that you brought up, it's bigger than just identity, right?
Yeah.
If we allow this woke concept, I mean, even from a young age, when we talk about like teaching a child resilience, I've seen things on like social media where like there's a parent whose kid like doesn't get a reward, like they play like a little league team, right? And maybe there's 3 kids that like they have like the VIP and like the most improved and whatever. And then there was a mom that was so like her son was having a fit that he didn't get a trophy.
Yeah.
And so she ended up making this whole big stink so that it turned out that everyone got a trophy. So now you totally like annul resilience, like teaching a child resilience, sewing into their character, teaching them resilience, teaching them what it means to work hard. And I think for me, when I think about being woke and what that means, I think that how people perceive that begins at a very young age. Because like how we talk about with these younger generations, because I completely agree how like the concept of woke, coming from being a coined term in the early 1900s by African American, civil rights movements to now being this colorful term. I think I said this even over the weekend that like things have gotten so out of control in terms of acceptance.
Yeah.
But I think that if there's anywhere where we are going to be impactful with our youth and within our communities, it is to maintain the importance of resilience. Like, and no shade to my mom because she's like a bomb grandma, but like my nephews and my niece, I am the drill sergeant auntie, hands down. I am unapologetically that. Those kids will learn respect. Those kids will learn what it means to contribute. Those kids will learn what it means to help. And these kids will learn that they wasn't raised by no punks. So when adversity knocks at their door, it's not an opportunity for them to shriek and cry and be like, oh no, like, no, they're going to be resilient. They're going to have ideas. They're going to figure out ways to beat it out. Right. So that's like my 2 cents to that. Cause I feel like the acceptance piece, if we're rooted at home and like Sav said, like as parents, and auntie mom, that's our responsibility as the adults in the lives of our children to make sure that we're being so influential and pouring into them so heavily that they're not even going to think twice about anything else that is coming around them. Because the obvious is that, for me, for example, I was raised here in California, but I was raised in a local home. When I walk out these doors, people who don't know me or meet me don't know that I was raised in a predominantly Palangi community. I went to school where the demographics was I was the 1%, and that's fine. But I was raised by a Samoan Tokelauan mom, a Samoan grandma. I speak it and I read it and I understand the languages, even though I've never stepped foot in Samoa. So for me, when I talk about like the importance of your roots and the importance of how influential we can be on the home base, and when we are that, then I feel like that it creates almost blinders where we're so secure in like what we know. I don't know, maybe I'm going too far out, but yeah, that's my 2 cents, that I feel like if we're going to really, talk about diminishing this woke culture and strengthening our youth so where they're not being influenced by the ways of the world, because that is a very real thing, then it starts here. It starts with me. It starts with you. And you don't even got to be just a parent. If you're an older sibling or if you're, an auntie, uncle, like we are the ones that we're entrusted, to receive kids into this family. So like, do our part. Anyways.
Can I just respond to Natasha, if you don't mind, Twin Savage, and I'll pass it right back to you guys. I know, Natasha, you brought up a good point, right? You're the type of person that, you have a judgment-free zone, right? You don't want to judge. I think that's what you said, right? Judgment-free zone. Like, you kind of, there's certain things that you just accept everybody. So when I say I'm not, so I think that's important to bring up. So when I say, oftentimes a lot of people, when I say, just because I don't accept a behavior from somebody, doesn't mean I'm going to treat them any differently than a human being.
Thank you.
Right. What I'm saying is, like, as soon as you turn 18, you become an adult. Like I said, I don't care what you do in your life. Right. But I do believe that there are certain things that whatever you want to do it in the privacy of your home. All right. I'll give you a perfect example. Right. That a lot of Pacific Islanders can relate to this. Right. The Whakaletis in the Tongan community. Right. So the Whakaletis, like, I think if you don't know what a Whakaleti is, if you're watching this right now, if you're non-Pacific Islander, it's, the homosexuals, right? Is it homosexuals? Is that or just feminine men? What, Savage? Or I think that's the best way to describe it, right? For everybody out there.
I would agree. I mean,
yeah.
So
I mean, if you're talking about gay men, you can call them gay. I mean, they're gay men.
I mean, hell, if that's the case, I might be Whakaleti. I don't know.
So the Whakaleti, like say the Whakaletis, if you're Tongan, you know what that means, or just gay men in general. I have Whakaletis in my family. That's no problem, right? If you want to do that, you're an adult. I don't have a problem with it. I'll treat them the same as a human being. Every human being should be cherished and loved and respected. But what I'm saying is, what is the objective truth? Most people are not homosexuals, right? Most people are heterosexual, right? So if you want to practice that in your own privacy of your home, that's fine. But my problem is, because of this woke ideology, and especially the very extreme left, you're pushing something. You're pushing a certain ideology that's only excluded to a small minority of people, to the masses, right? So that's when my issue is, when you start forcing your ideology on me, and forcing me and affecting me and how I raise my children, apply those certain ideologies in schools and making it into law. I think that's my issue. So obviously, like I said, what's the reality? Most girls and guys are heterosexual. They're attracted to the opposite sex. That is a truth. That is a fact, right? So just because you're homosexual, you can't push that to everybody else. You know what? I'm homosexual. This is what I want to do. Everybody should be homosexual. Everybody should have the same ideology as me. So, and I'm the type of person that's like, no, I don't accept that, right? I'm still going to treat you as a human being. I'm still going to respect you as a human being. But I'm not going to accept that ideology, and I'm not going to accept you trying to push that to everybody else. What the scientific and objective truth is, most people are not homosexual. Most people are born heterosexual. There's only a small 1%. And there's an interesting study out there. I don't know if you guys seen it. If I find it, I'll post it on the live chat for you guys to see. There was a study that was shown that since the beginning of, I think ever since they started keeping track of homosexuality or LGBTQ, it's only been less than 1% of the population since like they started recording it, I think 50, 60, 70 years ago. You know what the LGBTQ ideology statistic is for as far as today's what people identify as LGBTQ? You know what the percentage is? 30%. I think 30% of Gen X, Y, and Z identify as LGBTQ. When I think the last 50 years, it's always been less than 1% of the population, but now it's over 30%, which is a dramatic increase. Which that shows me that a lot of our kids are getting programmed with these certain ideologies that they're not really born with biologically. It's pushed towards them to think that they're LGBTQ, because since the beginning of time, most people have just been heterosexual. So that's what I mean when I say, like I said, accepting certain things, not accepting certain things. A lot of people may sometimes think that when people who have strong, very conservative values and morals, they talk about acceptance, not accepting certain people. They think that we hate them or there's some kind of contempt towards them. No, like, we still love you and appreciate you. But like I said in the beginning, as an adult, you can do whatever you want at the privacy of your home. But if we as a community know that certain behavior is not good for the general mass, for children, for adults, for society, there's not a net positive as far as pushing us towards a better outcome, that we know that if we push this ideology that only 1% of the people practice for everybody else, is going to go against the reality, the truth, and the objective truth, I think that's when it becomes an issue, and that's when it becomes a problem. I want to pass it to you, Tui and Savage. Anything you want to add on real quick?
I think, well, going back to what you were talking about, like, before this, I think the biggest issue is people forget that not everything is for everyone. You know, like I hate to keep using like the transgender sport issue as an analogy because I've used that a few times like previously, but you know, like you're transitioning into being a woman from a man and you want to swim. I get it. Doesn't mean that you should swim with the women. You know, like you are still biologically a man. And like our children are being indoctrinated at such an early age because of technology with all of this woke rhetoric and agendist nonsense. I don't want to say nonsense, but like I said before, there's no filters on social media and the media. You know, everything from Disney to TikTok is no longer a fun place to be or things to watch because everything now has an agenda, and it's not. And now, like when people are calling it out for what it is, you know, now people are coming on and telling us that we're wrong for feeling that way. But I think we need to cut out this bull
Oh,
accepting someone's. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you get go ahead. You just cut out a little bit. Yep.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think we need to start really pushing that because my opinion differs from your own does not mean that we, like you said, Will, cannot treat each other as humans. You know, we're not all going to agree on one thing. And I think.
Okay.
Sorry, did I cut out again?
Yeah, you did. The coconut Wi-Fi.
I know. No, I'm sorry. Like ever since the fires, like everyone's Wi-Fi connection here, I don't know what happened, but it's just, yeah. I'm sorry.
I think that's YouTube because I think they're listening in to the topic we're discussing right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll be prepared for this to never see the light of.
Okay. All right. No worries. I'll come back to you, Tui.
Okay.
I think the Matrix is trying to stop this stream. Okay, let me pass it. We have a new guest, the Jaded Lioness. She just jumped on. Shout out to you. Okay.
Shout out.
Don't forget, if you want to be part of the panel, this is a public stream. So I just posted the public link on the YouTube live chat. I would love to hear from everybody. What do you agree or disagree? Or whether you're transgender or whether you're part of that exclusive communities of LGBTQ, I would love to add on to the discussion. Whether we agree or disagree, we can have dialogue. We can talk about this. That's okay. Whether you're a Pacific Islander or non-Islander.
I think we should definitely do that in the future.
Okay.
I mean, representation is always a dub. Can never go wrong.
Okay. But nevertheless, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Jump on, click on that link. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I see 19 viewers. I only see you. One heart, one like. Come on, y'all. All right. Press that like and subscribe button. I know if you're watching the content already, the best way you can support it is press that like so that way it goes in the algorithm. And of course, if you have something you want us to discuss, the best way to do it, ask it through a super chat. Any question or any topic you want us to discuss, ask it through a super chat and to donate to my channel, support the channel, and I'll be able to show you some love. And of course, we'll be able to discuss what you guys want us to discuss. But I always give priority to the people that donate through the super chats. All right. But let me pass it to the new guest, and then we'll bring it back full circle to the main panel. I have a couple of things I want to go right into, a list of things that we need to discuss specifically. But let me give you some time. The Jaded Lioness, good to see you again. That's all I know. I know it's been a while since our last podcast. All the way from New Zealand, Kia ora.
Yeah, I just saw you on my feed. I was like, oh, what are they talking about?
But what are your thoughts about that? Should we be concerned as Pacific Islanders about the woke culture? Go ahead.
Yo, in terms of the LGBTQIA plus stuff, from what I won't speak for all of Polynesia because we all have our own cultural heritage and history. But in terms of what happened to us, we were very sexually fluid. The gender roles, men and women shared them. If anything, the tribe that I come from, women had equal status to men. We were front of line in war. We did the hunting and gathering, all the same as our men, same roles, but also the sexuality it was fluid, and they also practiced polyamory. So like you could have multiple lovers, and it was colonization and Christianity that changed that for us. So the act of decolonizing would be to embrace the practices or the beliefs of our ancestors. So I think there are some things that need to be like, we still need to have a respectful way of educating and talking about these discussions, because I do understand where the concerns are. Like I've seen the stuff, like they've had like drag queen shows like for children. Like, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that, but I do think having the conversation with younger people, that everybody isn't the same. We all have our own ways of presenting ourselves. It's really about maintaining the respect that we have for each other, in both ways. Like, not just, yeah, respect goes both ways. Okay, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. No, thank you for bringing that up, because that just segues right into what I wanted to discuss. All right. Natasha, Savage, anything you want to add on real quick? Then we'll move on to the specific things we're going to discuss. Savage, go ahead. Natasha, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since I renounced my faith in Christianity, I am also hence been ancestral. I believe in ancestral connection, and that is in ties and in correlation with procreation. That doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with identifying as a man and you're a woman. The problem is when we come to the West, this modern ideology of, oh, I'm transgender and I feel this way because, it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with being who you are and identifying as that. The problem becomes when it becomes unnatural, because then you discredit the woman who is actually a woman. Well, I can have a period. It's like, yes, but is it artificial or is it natural? Because the pain is a part of that motherhood, right? It's an honor bestowed upon women that, my ancestors would believe is the mark of a woman, right? But if it's the other way around, if a woman wants to be a warrior, you don't need to be a man. You don't need to. Hell, some of our strongest battalions, and shout out to my brother Hawaiian Blanca, the culture of the Mahu Wahine. They were warriors, bro. They looked like women, but had the strength of men. Fucking crazy, right? You would be lured in by the deception. Oh, cuz this fucking bitch is fucking fine. Next thing you know, you're getting your head chopped off because you were deceived that this beauty of a woman is actually a man, right? And that's all historical. That's fact. But when you come to a place like America that, kind of walks over that history indigenously, not just in the Pacific. There are cultures still alive today who accept it. You don't need to, what do you identify? You don't need to register. You don't need to fill out a box and tell me who you are. None of that, because it's already established. Nature has a funny way of, when there's too many men, someone becomes feminized. If I'm lying, what happens in prison? That's interesting, right? Nature has a funny way of proving these things. And for some reason, it's new ideology. It's woke. It ain't woke, dumbass. The ancestors been talking about it since way back when. It just happens, right? And vice versa. Too many women, someone becomes masculine, right? And I'm not here to put the science in. What I'm here to do is to tell you, get your ideology out of my fucking face. My ancestors already knew that. Why are you teaching me something they already knew, right? And in that, I agree with you, Will. I'm a parent. And if I get a permission slip telling me, well, we're going to, discuss gender identity with your child. Get the fuck out of my face. You dumbass. You're taking my job away. I'm the parent. Well, why the fuck am I even here if I can't do that? Right? But, oh man, I can already hear I'm about to get fucking canceled, bro, because this is going to get deep and it's going to go against the grain. And we haven't even got to racism. That's what I wanted to attack, but yeah, man, be who you want, but don't make it like adamant that my child has to learn about it. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, Natasha, anything you want to add on before we move on to the list of topics we want to discuss?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I first of all, Jay Linus, thank you so much for your input. I think that neutralizing the space, and really resetting it to keep it comfortable for everyone and being all acknowledging is very all inclusive. Like I'm an advocate for that. So thank you very much. But I agree. I think that ultimately it really again just comes down to like our roots, and making sure that we as the generations ahead are setting up the generations behind us for success, because especially in the West where we are, we're a lot more sensitive these days. Like, and again, this is not intended to be shade, but like, for example, when pronouns came out and like when they did like the neutral gender bathrooms, I'm old school where I'm like, look, you will never catch my niece or even my nephews going in a bathroom. Like let my niece go in a bathroom or let my sister go in a bathroom who is a grown adult and a man follow behind. I'm right there at the door, period. Like that's my thing where it's like, it's created this sense of sensitivity to where breathing in the wrong direction. I was in a situation where like not knowing, I was in a group of people and I had referred to a they or them as her, not my homie. We're same space. The amount of smoke that I got for being uneducated was wild. And like, mind you, I am the nicest. Like I'm all inclusive. Like, and so I just was really in a space of like, okay, so now is it that every time I walk into a space of people or a crowd, I feel like I need to hold a notepad and I need to like write and it shouldn't be that way. It's too everything is way too technical these days. Like I'm just trying to be able to have a good time. And I literally, all I said was, yeah, she's hella and I was complimenting them. Okay, let me correct it now. I was complimenting them. And still I got smoke, so it's like, I think that the whole concept of if we start from the beginning of what woke meant, and then I'm going to say into my generation, because I feel like we had it right, to where it is now, there's a level of sensitivity that like has been created where it's like, oh, like you're a terrible person. Why? I didn't know. I'm sorry. Like, it wasn't on purpose. I wasn't trying to like be, I wasn't trying to leave you out or like be ignorant. Like I literally like, bro, wear a sign on your head if you're going to get that mad at me. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you take the time to educate me and treat me like a human being, like you said, the respect both ways, right? Like sis, you didn't come in here with us. You know what I'm saying? So like after the fact, you know what I mean? Because I know better, because I was raised, I'm always going to revert to my morals and my values. And if all else fails and someone is testing my flesh, I'm going to revert back to how I was raised. I'm going to be respectful and I'm just going to avoid it. Not because I'm a punk, because my mom ain't raised no punk, but because I'm doing this person a favor, because test my crazy and let me go red. All because of a misunderstanding that wasn't intentional. I mean, for what? So anyways, that's my 2 cents. That's all I got to add.
All right. No worries. Thank you so much, Natasha. And that's facts. Natasha is one of the most kindest people I've ever met. So I got DJ Witch Doctor with the $2 super chat. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Salute to the panel. Dope conversation. Pound to you, man. Thank you so much. And I'll drink a gobble cup for you. Thank you. All right, appreciate you. Nevertheless,
can I add one? Can I add something?
Go ahead, real quick. Go ahead, DJ Lioness.
I just feel like because there's levels too. Like our generations have experienced different levels of trauma and oppression. So the young ones, like the Gen Zs, they have no fucking idea. They have no idea the shit that we went through. They have no idea. So they're like, when we went through some actual traumatic shit, and our parents did, so they're like dying for something to complain about. Please, they just so badly want to be oppressed, and if they only knew the stuff that we went through. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, no worries. Today, Lioness, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I promise you, this is the softest generation, Gen X, Y, and Z, in history since the beginning of time. That's a straight objective truth right there. Nevertheless, let's keep it moving. I want to talk about pronouns because that's the basic level of how everything started. Natasha showed an example. All right, so today you have to identify people based on their pronoun, which I don't have a problem with. If you come with me with respect, treat me as with respect, I'll definitely reciprocate it and make sure you. And of course, if you educate me in a respectful way, what your preferred pronoun is, I have no problem with calling you that pronoun. My problem is passing it into law, and now we're mandating it. And there's certain companies out there that are also mandating it, that if you misplace or let me add to it real quick. If you don't say somebody's pronoun and you don't say somebody's pronoun, there are consequences. Since the beginning of time, we've always called everybody's pronoun based on the physical traits of what they identify, male or female. Right? There's 7 billion people on this earth. There's no way when I meet you for the first time in life for me to know what your preferred pronoun is. Most people in the real world, we judge you based on if you look female, you have female traits, we're gonna call you a she. If you have male traits, I'm gonna call you a he. But now I have to call you preferred pronoun. If you make a mistake, there's a lot of negative backlash, there's consequences, you can lose your job. I know for a fact in Canada, they're mandating into law. So now your people are being forced that you have to say people's certain pronouns, or you face a fine or go to jail. And my issue with that is now you're violating my right of speech. There's a Second Amendment here in America, which I love. We have the right to free speech. We have the right to be able to say what we want to say. So if somebody comes to me and is an asshole and disrespects me and expects me that I'm going to say his pronoun and doesn't come in the correct way, I am not going to say his correct pronoun. It's going to be based on how you treat me and our relationship. So like I said before, I don't have a problem with whatever you identify as, but my problem is when a small minority of people, and now we're trying to force that upon the masses. But with the pronouns, my problem with that is when you force it, when the government forces it, and companies and certain professions and even people, they get upset, they get sensitive because I don't know your pronoun. I think that's violating my space and my right to free speech and what I want to say. So, but let's start with that, and we have a lot more things to talk about. What are your thoughts about the pronoun? And before you guys say, I have to say this right now. There's only 2 genders, male or female, he or she. That's just my opinion. All right. Everything else is going to be based on how you treat me. And if you want me to call you a certain name or a certain pronoun, just come correct. And I'll say your preferred pronoun. But if you come in a certain way, act like a tyrant and try to be an asshole and try to expect me to call you by your preferred pronoun, that is not going to happen. Okay. But let's start with you. I'll start with you, the Judy Lioness. What are your thoughts about the pronouns, preferred pronouns? And of course, now the certain societies and certain governments or certain companies, they're mandating it, and you have to say it, even if you don't agree with it. Go ahead, the Judy Lioness. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, what about things like whakaletsi and papafinge?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just going off based on what we see right now in with the woke culture, with that the preferred pronouns he or she. I don't know how many pronouns are there. There's like last time I checked, it was like 15.
There's over 100.
Well,
yeah.
Damn.
Well, like I think it's gone up since then.
They're just making shit up now, right? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Jay Lioness. What do you want to say?
I identify as she, her. I mean, they, them applies to everyone. There's always been a they, them. In my culture, we have the word ia, which is technically they, but it applies to everyone. But from my understanding, we have whakaletsi, papafinge, and those existed for a long time. How does that work in your perception?
Well, for me, if you want to be called that pronoun you just mentioned, say that again.
Whakaleiti and whawhawhinge,
Yeah.
they are the supposedly the third gender of Tonga and Samoa.
Look, like I mentioned before early in the podcast, I don't have a problem if like I said, if I meet you and then and of course, like I said, I don't know when I meet you the first time if that's what you identify as. So if we're having a conversation and I misinterpret what your identity is, just correct me. Hey, just let you know I'm this. Okay, I'm sorry. That's my fault. But then I'll continue the conversation and calling you preferred gender. But how am I supposed to know that you identify as that when I just met you for the first time? And I think what Natasha said, I should not be, if I don't know, there shouldn't be any some kind of backlash or consequences for me because I don't know what your preferred gender is unless you tell me, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you come with respect, hey, this is what I identify as, this is why I prefer to be called, and you're saying that and we're having a civil conversation and treating ourselves cordially, I don't have a problem. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't have a problem with that. But if I miscorrect what your preferred pronoun is, and then you get mad because I just met you for the first time, and there's backlash, and then now you mass report me to the friends, social media, to my boss, to whoever it is, and everybody's trying to cancel me because I don't know your preferred gender, your pronoun. That is ludicrous. That's delusion. How am I supposed to know? Why are there consequences for a pronoun when I don't even know? And for me, that's very that's narcissistic. Like, to think that
we should be able to have the respectful conversation and ask the question without the assumptions, eh?
Exactly.
That's respect.
That's respect.
I fully understand that.
Respect, and
I do also think that
know.
gender is a social construct, because a lot of what we think about gender now is based on Western white stereotypes, because our sexuality and our gender was a lot more diverse before white people came and told us who to be and how to act. So there's that.
Okay, we can definitely dive into that. To save that for the conversation later. Social construct is gender is a social construct. All right, let me pass it. Balafessa, Doko, good to see you. Good to see you be part of the stream. Don't forget, Balafessa joined. If you want to be part of the conversation, a lot of you guys saying a lot of things on the live chat. Keep that live chat popping. Let me know what you guys think. But I would love to have you guys more opinions, more perspectives to jump on. I'll pass it to you, Tui. Tui, what are your thoughts about the pronouns? People having multiple pronouns, and then now there's backlash and real life consequences that that people can affect on people if you misspeak somebody's preferred pronoun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's happened to me a lot, but I don't have a problem referring to people as their pronouns. That's fine. But if we're talking if we're talking about science, then biologically, I believe there are only two genders. I do to some degree understand when people say that gender is a social construct. I get it. Usually when I talk about these things, it's only in reference to talking about the biology of someone or the science of something. There's so many different conversations that come up when I do talk about things like this. All of us, I'm sure, transgendered, and then now it's transracial, and all of everything is trans. Like, sometimes I just want people to be fucking transparent and disappear, but that's never going to happen. But I think, out of respect for people, I refer to them as as their preferred pronouns. If we're talking about my personal what I believe, then it's just strictly scientific, and I only refer to male and female genders. I guess that's all I really have to say about it. There's nothing else that I have to say that is conducive to this particular topic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Tui. Appreciate that. Let me pass it to Savage. Savage, what do you think about the pronouns? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
about
I mean, straight up, man. Here are my pronouns. Fuck you, fuck me, fuck them, and fuck everybody else. Because my grandma, my grandpa, they only knew man and woman. Yeah, they even knew the fuck I like these, but like if you're telling me some shit that can get me in trouble, possibly send me to jail because of how you feel, motherfucker, do you know how many other people around the world feel about some shit that they should be awarded, right? Like, I'm not even talking about judiciously. I'm talking about morally. And you wanted to, well, you're hurting my feelings because I don't identify as that. I didn't call you a bitch. I didn't even call you nothing else. I just, hello there, man. If that's where society has diluted to, man, get the fuck out of my face. No, I'm sorry, because the reason why I'm passionate about this, you know how many of my uncles and aunties could never identify who they really feel, right? And now you want to make it against the law? Like, America has a funny way of publicizing things that they benefit off of, right? Monetarily. And to me, pronouns sounds like what? Money. So for me, fuck you. I don't give a shit about your pronouns. If you historically didn't have to fight for that right to, I don't know, live, be who you authentically are, but you're going to tell me, well, I was offended because you didn't identify with what I identify as. Well, I'm sorry, sir. What do you identify as? I identify as a cat. Motherfucker, then what do I say to the cat? What the fuck do I say to the cat? I'm sorry, cat. You're not a cat. This motherfucker's a cat. Man, listen, it becomes a very confusing place to live in the world when our kids can't even fathom 2 + 2. But now you want to have my child call you this, that, and the other? How about my kid just, acknowledges that you're breathing, that you're alive, that no disrespect, but if my child only knows this or that, you need to respect my child because they're still developing. Don't get me wrong. If you're offended by me, a grown-ass adult, for mispronouncing your pronoun, I apologize. Whatever. But if it's going to become, a law to where I have to do that, bro, we're all going to have to go back to the island. That's it. We're going to all have to go back home because it becomes a conflict of interest. It affects religion. There are Muslims who can't do that. They can't do that. But I digress. No, I am not with the pronouns. I'm sorry, but
Gotcha.
I'm not. Respectfully.
Hey, Savage, even if your children acknowledge that they're a breathing, alive human being, that may not even work because they may identify as non-breathing, dead human. So, okay. That's the world we live in today. I'll pass it to you back, Natasha, final thoughts, and I'll pass it to you, Palofessa. Thank you for jumping on the panel, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Go ahead, Natasha. Anything you want to add on?
Oh, I already shared my 2 cents about this. So I'm gonna pass and give the rest of the time to Palofessa because, yeah. Again, no shade, no nothing, but I already shared my piece about it. And if people feel some type of way, my handle is down here. Otherwise, it's water under the bridge for me.
All right, no worries. Thank you, Natasha. And I appreciate everybody in the live chat. Let's get that live chat popping. I see Haya on the live chat. Good to see you. Good to see you in the live chat. But like I said, if you want to support the channel, anything you want to add on to our discussion, donate and support it through a super chat. I'll definitely be able to read it and we can respond to your questions or things that you guys want us to discuss. But don't forget to like and subscribe. And I post a public link on the YouTube live chat. If you want to jump on, click on that link. Palofessa, thank you for jumping on. Palofessa, what are your thoughts throughout discussion? Just talk about pronouns and woke culture.
Okay, let me touch on pronouns first. My mother tongue is my first language. And in my mother tongue, there is no such thing as pronouns. We were. We were either man, woman, or we were in between. We didn't identify as one, we were. We were who we our accolades were and what our lifestyles were. We didn't have to identify as such thing to be such thing. We just were. The notion of whakareiti and tomboy, those were modernized and bastardized English word translated into Tongan. The whakareiti was to be ladylike. Lady is a European word, right? So we describe such people as whia tangata o whiwhiwhine, o whakatangata o whakawhiwhine, right? So we describe them based on temperaments, but they didn't have to identify as such. So like Savage, a lot of my morals and values goes back to my ancestries, those who came before me and those who is in the whanua that my pito is severed in, right? The English word, the English language is one that is very manipulative in terms of people can manipulate the English language to a degree where they now can push agendas such as what we now identify as woke. I used to have these conversations in terms of wokeness used to be the ability for one to be self-aware of oneself and the world around them and to be able to look and analyze the world and how that affects you. Now it's being used under the guise of tolerance. And it's a very unfortunate thing to have, but that is such as the time. So, look, if you have a decent conversation with me and said, look, I identify as such, and here are my pronouns, I'd say you're a little bit crazy, but I respect you, and you know I love you as a human being. And if that is something for you to be comfortable with, although I don't agree, let's at least have a conversation and figure out where we stand in terms of our belief. I will treat you as a human being, as a fellow human being. But if you're going to push and say, oh no, I'm going to pass a law and I'm going to push a law to say mandatorily you will have to address me as such, no thank you.
All right, Palafesa, thank you for jumping on and sharing. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys, and of course, thank you so much everybody in the live chat. I see about 21 people watching. I see 2 likes. Press that like button if you support the content. You see value in the content. Press that like button so that way you can go into the algorithm. All right, thank you so much. All right, I want to move on to the next topic. I want to discuss this. I think Savage brought it up earlier on the podcast itself. I know in America they are starting to teach LGBTQ and ideology, and they're also teaching about sex education to kids. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a lot of books now that are teaching kids about sex, even the earliest as kindergarten. All right, and these books are explicit. Like not only they have verbal, they only have verbal explanations about sex, but they also have visual. And I don't know if you guys seen the movie Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you guys heard of that movie, Sound of Freedom. You guys heard of that movie? Tui, Natasha? Oh, okay. No? Palafesa? You heard of that movie, Sound of Freedom?
Heard about it, yeah.
Well, it's a movie that it was a small movie out here that blew up here in America, but pretty much the movie was about is about a Homeland Security agent that he switched from. I think he was fighting sex trafficking, where he used to go and fight sex traffickers and save children, but he left the agency and now he has his own foundation and organization that he goes out there and he helps save kids that have gone through sex trafficking. But he said something that was very profound. He said that I think 20, 30 years ago, if you as an adult went to a child and gave him a book that had visual pictures about sex and talked about sex, he had the authority to arrest them 20, 30 years ago and put them in jail. Today in 2023, teachers are giving children, we're talking about that, teachers are giving children pictures and books about sex to kids. And he said today, and it's crazy for him because he said, I can't arrest those people today because that has become the dominant ideology and mentality of the American way when it comes to sex. But 20, 30 years ago, you were identified as a pedophile, I would be able to put you in prison, and you become labeled as a sex offender when you get out. But he can't do that anymore in 2023. So obviously, everybody on this panel, some of you guys have kids, some of you guys don't have kids. But like I mentioned before, it's mandated. especially in California. I live here in Cali, in California. It's already been mandated into schools. They can talk about LGBTQ to kids. They can start teaching kids. They can give them books. And I think Sandwich brought up a great point. He said that that's my job as a parent. That's my responsibility as a parent, that I will teach my kids my ideologies and my values when it comes to sexual identity, when it comes to sex. That's my job and responsibility. That's not the government. That's not yours. But let me open up the conversation for that. What do you guys think about that? Is it okay? Is this, and of course, we talked about the woke culture, about acceptance, that we have to tolerate everything. Is this something that we have to tolerate and say it is okay? We have to accept this ideology, or do we have the capacity to say, no, this is not okay. I do not accept this, and I'm willing to. And if you try to teach it towards my kids, I'm going to retaliate. There's going to be issues, and there's also, I don't know if you guys seen it. I'll probably find out the picture and the links. There's a lot of Arab Muslim communities around America. They're fighting back. They're fighting against the schools. They're like, I'm not allowing you guys to teach this to my kids. And I think in LA, there's a school where there's a high dominant percentage of kids are Muslim, and literally there's a video out there. If I find it, I'll put it on the live chat. Where the parents came to the school and they say, we're not gonna allow you guys to teach this ideology to the kids, and then the parents started fighting the teachers, because the parents are like, no, this is my responsibility as a parent. I'm Muslim. I'm teaching my kids my values, and you're not forcing this upon my kids. But this is where we live. But this is where we live today in 2023. So let me pass it to the ladies, and I'll come back full circle, and then I'll start with you, Tui. Tui, I know you have kids, but what are your thoughts about that? What about the they're teaching sexual identity to kids at an early age, and they're teaching them about sex at an early age. What do you think about that, Tui?
Well, I've spoken about this before on your podcast, and I agree that there are a lot of things that need to change about the curriculum in schools, and I think sex education is one of them, as in it needs to be taken out completely. I don't believe that schools, because I do live in America, I don't believe that schools in America need to be educating our children about anything that has to do with sex, or in regards to anything that has to do with their mental health, because it's so, the message may be skewed and not received correctly. And I think it would better come from the parents. I mean, I have run into these issues here already, with schools here in Hawaii. And I mean, I haven't had a problem with any parents, because they feel pretty much the same way. But yeah, when it in regards to like my child and children, I don't have a problem them being exposed to, because Kanaka culture, there is obviously a third gender. Polynesian culture, there's a third gender. My child understands that because she knows our culture, and that's fine, because that's something that I'm exposing her to, where she has questions, we can answer them. I don't like the government to have a lot of control over things that my kid, learns in schools. Like, school should be for like arithmetic and English, and anything that can further her education into her college career, So like, do I believe, like, I think in California, the school districts banned about 1,500 books, I believe, right? On like for anything in regards to transgendered. No, wait, I can't remember. I'm so sorry. This was like, I read this like maybe last year, but yeah, like in regards to the government or the state having any say or control over my kids' education, it should just be for like, the basic math, English, science, that's okay. I know that's not popular, but I don't care.
All right, no worries. Thank you so much, Tui. Appreciate that. I just see a super chat from Mr. Coconut. Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Coconut. $19.99 super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry my sound effects ain't working officially tonight, but I just gave you a super air horn. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for the support, Mr. Coconut. Our shout out to you. But nevertheless, I'll pass it to you, the JJ Lioness. What are your thoughts about schools able to teach your kids sexual identity and also teaching them about sex at a very early age?
Yeah, so I have two children, and they're 5 and 7. And in an ideal world, I would homeschool them because I would love to be able to be completely conscious and present for everything that they absorb. But I have to work, and so they have to go to public school and all that kind of shit. So in terms of the sex ed stuff, which is inevitable, I would like to know what they're teaching them. I would like to be involved. And because they're not at the age yet where they do that in New Zealand schools anyway. But yeah, I definitely want to know what they're going to be teaching my kids, and I want to know who's teaching them as well, because some teachers have weird agendas and things like that. But I do definitely think it's our responsibility as parents to be engaging in those conversations, and teaching our children about bodily autonomy and what is right and wrong, because the world is a weird and sick place, and if they don't know what's right, how do they know what's wrong? And we need to create that dialogue for them at home, so that when they go out there, they can come home and we can have the conversation and counsel them through whatever it is, and fight for them when we need to. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I know you don't see what they're teaching the kids out here. That Jada Lioness, there's a book out there. I saw it on Twitter that they teach in I forgot which state, but I can't show it on this stream because I'll get a flag from YouTube, and I probably might get banned because it's too explicit. Right? It's like pornographic. But here's the thing: it's pornographic for YouTube, for people where adults are watching content, but it's okay for kids to be able to read and teach in schools. That's just it's crazy.
Can I ask what the age is for that for those classes?
I think it was elementary school.
Can I add to that?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Natasha.
So in the state of California in 2016, there was a Healthy Youth Act regarding sexual health. And basically what that meant, or what that implemented into the school system, is it implemented unbiased sexual education, including HIV education. And it really was to be mindful and supportive of like the gender fluid, society that we live in. And so I grew up, sorry, well, I totally mean to interject.
You good.
I grew up in a generation where I received they called it health education when I was in school. And that was for me in the 7th grade. Okay, Sab, I'm glad that we're in the same age bracket. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that validation. Because according to y'all, for the rest of my life, I will be 25. You're welcome. Yeah. But anyways, so for me, but health education when I was in the 7th grade was very rated G. It was very basic. And for me, I grew up in an era where something like sex in my household was not discussed. That was a taboo topic. So for me, any of the exposure that I got, bye Jade, it was nice seeing you, was what I learned in class. And then what like my friends are talking about, what the kids at church are talking about. Yes, the kids at church we're talking about. And it was very rated G, whereas to now it's like she left. But it's 7th to 12th grade is the general like requirement where there has to be where health education, sex education, whatever you call it, has to be integrated into the curriculum. But what's different now after that act was put into place is that it's also now accessible to K through 6. So it's not that it's a requirement, but it's that if a teacher decides to integrate it into the curriculum from grades K to 6, then they don't have to like get approval. But with everyone from K through 12, if there is a sex education class integrated into the curriculum or segment, each student has to turn in a signed waiver from their parent to say that they've given their consent. So yeah, she left, but that's that.
I mean, this is just a common sense. Why do kindergarten kids need to know about sex?
I
Right?
mean, yeah, and you're not wrong. So for like, sorry,
It's
now
so
that
common
I'm
sense. That's so common sense. It's crazy how we have a whole society of people making these decisions, mandating that kids from K to 6, when everybody with a stable common sense of mind, like, why do these kids need to learn about sex?
so I think that's why for me, whether it is talking about being woke or talking about
Yeah.
pronouns or talking about gender identity or talking about sex education, this is why within our PI community, we need to normalize these conversations, right? Because at the end of the day, what we intake outside of our homes
Yep.
is what we're not receiving at home. And there's a lot of, I feel like that's something that isn't, it's casually talked about, right? Because I'm one of those people where like, I'm so passionate about taboo topics. I'm passionate about that with my nephews and my nieces. I'm passionate about it even with my cousins that are my age too, because they've gone through shit that they're not allowed to even think about, essentially, where they're trained or they're taught that they're not allowed, and I think this is where the religion influence ties into, right? Because of religion and the Samoan culture specifically, I'll speak on that, is everything for us was we were raised a routine. Like we were raised that everything was repetition and everything was about, we were told that this is what we had to do in order to be saved and in order to be worthy of being in the church. And if we were doing anything outside of that, which was every taboo topic that every single one of us was doing, that we're not saved and we would be exiled and like whatever. And so I feel like this is why it's important for us now, in our generation that have lived through that, to really normalize not just having the conversations and creating the space, but really living that out, right? Because if we're not being adamant and if we're not being persistent and if we're not being consistent with teaching our values, then not only do our kids go out lost, but slowly and surely this is how cultures die, right? Because we're not investing, because like I know for me, like my parents growing up predominantly in Samoan cultures, like fala velaves was the basis of like what made being Samoan an inconvenience, because it was like everything was money based, and so it's like even though for me, like I value and I love these conversations that are around like these worldly westernized topics, I think that the focal point really should be, okay, cool. Like, so we know that this is the obvious, right? Because we're adults, but how do we take what we know to and pour it and sow it into our children, into these upcoming generations to ensure that they're not walking these streets confused? Because for those of us that live here in the US, shit is rough out here. I mean, and equally too, like not just to, it's also, I mean, it goes back to that whole like being, that respecting both sides, like if I have, a nephew or a niece or a cousin that's like LGBT, that's queer, like I'm full swing support of that. I'm not going to judge but let me know, so normalizing that safe space and that fluid conversation, because from what I was raised, my gay cousins, apart from the fafafingas, because in our culture they're received, they're all living in the closet. And really that's where like drug abuse, substance abuse in general, suicide, that's where all that shit comes from. Because we're not creating the spaces for us to really talk about it and to even share our experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, that's my 2 cents. That's how I feel. I mean, in terms of like sex education, because that's really what it was. If we are having those conversations at home, and if we are teaching our kids at home at what age we decide is appropriate, we ain't got to worry about that shit. Period.
Right.
We don't got to sign the waiver. You know what I'm saying? Our kid, my kid can stay home on that day. I don't give two shit. I'll do school on that day. You feel me? Anyways.
Okay. All right. No worries, Natasha. I appreciate that. I feel the passion behind what you said. Thank you so much. I'll pass it to you, Savage. I'll come back to you, Paulo Fist. So, Savage, what are your thoughts about kids learning about their sexual identity and about sex?
Yeah, I mean, shit. Tasha got me fired up. I'm feeling my fun right now because, I mean, realistically, it's logical, right? If you're a parent, and I'm not taking away from aunties and uncles, no, but as a parent, if you don't feel that natural resistance that society is trying to do something that is not beneficial or conducive to your family, your natural instinct is to protect, not just fight, but speak up. I'm gonna speak on my experience, and then I'll talk about my kids. I didn't have doggy style sex until I was 20, bro. I didn't know how to do it because nobody taught me. Here I look, listen, when we had sex education, we only had it for 1 week. It's a 1 week event. That's it. And then you go on about we put a condom on a banana, the woman learns about her period. That's about it. 1 fucking week. And I learned about doggy style when I was 20 because I thought you had to put it in their ass. I didn't know. Nobody taught me that shit. So here I'm out here looking like a goddamn idiot because school deems 1 week is good enough. But here I am, no condom, thinking everything goes up the butt. Like, I guess you know what? I'm gonna thug it out. I'll figure this shit out. And then, now fast forward, you prioritize in what was a week in high school, you want to teach them in elementary. Are we going backwards? Are we de-evolving? What the fuck is happening? This doesn't make it. Listen, and then even more than that, what is the benefit of teaching the child at that age? Why? Why is this beneficial? This doesn't make any fucking sense that you taught me for a week and I failed, but you go back in time and say, teach them when they're, prepubescent. They haven't gone through puberty. Why is this important to teach? And once again, there's no answer. But for my kids, I'm ancestral. I believe in the ancestral connection. And I told you that correlates with procreation. I believe human beings naturally come into these things. We learn how to walk, we learn how to piss and shit, and eventually our hormones teach us to put things where they need to be, right? This thing right here. I'm not going to say it, but we eventually learn naturally. So, if I, as an adult, am failing at teaching my child, anything that is natural, I'm not a parent. I'm not. This makes no sense that I would give you my power as a parent to do what? Parent my child. I might as well put them up for adoption, and that hurts because there are kids out there who are in that situation. And it's no joke. It's no joke. Trafficking, misinformation, woke is killing my trust in society. And honestly, it's not getting better. It scares me. It really does. I don't know what to trust, but I know this. I'm the parent. I'm the captain. This is my ship. And for anyone who thinks it's woke to teach them at a young age, fuck you. Was it woke when we were learning about racism? Was it woke when they were teaching us about credit and real estate? No, they haven't done none of that shit. So why is this beneficial? Fuck, man. America is a strange place. But I digress. I don't like this, and I'm scared, but I'm not gonna stop being a parent. And if there's a law coming that tells me that what I'm teaching at home is wrong, man, this is gonna be tough. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Savage. I really appreciate that.
Wait,
all right.
hold on. You guys got a week of sex education? What did you I got 1 day. 1 day.
Yeah, I think that was the same for me. But I went to high school in Texas and more conservative.
Oh yeah. I graduated from a high school in Utah, so we didn't get the bananas. Well, we got the bananas, but no condoms.
Yeah.
That's also why y'all only got a day, because of where y'all both was.
Their whole thing was, you want to trust your partner and get married before you have sex. And I was like, I don't think my parents would approve of what you're telling me.
Hey, tell Joseph Smith to shut the fuck up. You had like about 9 bitches. Shut up.
He said, this is the place, and then this is the place, and this is my place too. And then we have Utah.
Okay. All right. No worries. Thank you, everybody. And everybody in the live chat. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys. Let's keep it active. Let me know what do you guys think. And don't forget, this is a public show. If you're watching this for the first time, definitely want to invite you guys to come on, especially if you disagree a lot of things we say. Always like to hear from a different perspective, the opposing perspective. We can have some dialogue. I'll pass it to you, Balafessa. What are your thoughts on, schools being able to teach kids sexual identity? And of course, they'd be able to teach kids about sex at a very young age.
I think I echo the same sentiment that everyone on the panel speaks on. That's my duty and my responsibility. Unfortunately, though, the government and those who are in power that controls this curriculum are taking advantage of a ideology that a vast majority of us have in the West. And I'm willing to suspect that this has been a big influence of Christianity too. Sex is sacred, not taboo. Unfortunately, with religion in the way that it's been pushed out with Christianity, it is taboo rather than sacred. Right, so when it becomes taboo, then as Polynesians and Pacific Islanders, taboo for us is a very fine line of, it's a very fine thread of whether we discuss or not, right? So deeply associated with certain ritual that is only privy to certain people. That's the ideology behind tapu, or taboo as English would call it. Now, I think there needs to be a big re-education of what sex is within our communities and what it means in terms of how sacred it is for us. It is not just the birds and the bees. It is not only for creation, but it's to share a very sacred and harmonious relationship between two people. Very conservative in mindset, is between men and female. Now, I can understand in the world, most will believe otherwise, but that's my ideology. So, I can't really point anything of blame to anyone, because unfortunately, at the end of the day, we vote these people in who make these very powerful decisions. So a lot of this responsibility will fall back on us, especially those of us who are parents. So no, I don't agree with the school teaching my children about sexual identity and sex in general. And this is why I have conversation with my son, and I encourage my wife to have conversation with our daughter. Not so much in the full-blown, this is what sex is, but to walk them through that process of what is it that sex is all about and what is that connection that we have to each other. Now, I'm going to challenge this notion within our community as Pacific Islanders of our notion and idea of gender identity. This is not a Pacific Islander nor a knowledge in the moana. This was invented in 1964. If you go and look back and even derive the etymology of gender and gender ideology, this is very European. And if we're one to try and pull back a lot of our ancestral knowledge and try and dig deeper to find out these things, gender did not belong in our culture and never will. We never identified as anything. We were just. And there were the in-betweeners. And there was a beautiful conversation that I had with one of the academics here who is doing a lot of research back into a lot of our buried history or hidden history. And our conversation around what we know as Tomboy or Whareidi, especially within the three big islands, which is Fisi, Tonga and Hamoa. Apparently it was known that the in-betweeners were revered as an entity rather than a sex, and a vast majority of their responsibilities are likened to oracles or guidance within certain sects or certain house they belong to, and they were able to traverse both male and female arenas, right? So it's very interesting that and Toy, this might come across to you, but it's more generality. I think we need to get away from this idea of gender and gender identity as specific people, and really get down to the brass tacks of what is. We are just people, and for some of us, we exist in between, but we had roles, and unfortunately, religion has diluted what that meant and has buried a lot of that history within our culture. And look, it's up to us to find that knowledge back and dig it back up and see where the balance is. Does modern ideology present any advantage? Does ancestral history present any advantage or disadvantage? Where do we find the balance in order to live somewhat of a fulfilled life? But to answer your question simply, no, that's my duty. That's my sacred duty as a father and as a leader in my family. It is to teach my son the importance and the sacredness of what sex is. If you are going to participate in this Western culture, which I would say I'm guilty of casual sex and to lay with any woman, then be prepared to take up the responsibility should you be a child. We are not to run from challenges. We are to take up and take arm and say, this is a blessing and a gift. I shall, whatever my feelings may be or my emotions behind it, I'll take responsibility for that.
All right, no worries. Thank you for sharing that, Balafessa. Anybody want to respond before we move on to the next one? I know a lot of you guys share your thoughts and your perspectives. Savage, you want to respond? You have something to say?
No, yeah, I just I want to back the notion of what Balafessa was talking about. Just do the research. If you as a parent are questioning your curriculum, just do the work. There's no problem. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. There's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is when you give that away. Oh, well, I don't know. Let them teach it. No, that's irresponsible. That's what it is to be a parent, to work at it. And sadly, in the PI community, I don't believe we promote that enough. And please hear me. Our parents, they did the best. They really did. There's nothing we can blame them for, but they were limited. And now we are in the driver's seat. Do I blame my mom and dad for, I didn't know, so now I can't teach my kids because I don't. No, you have libraries. You have Google. Hell, you have experts right now. You don't need to go to a university. I can literally ask my cousin, who has been gay his whole life, if my son is having these, thoughts or whatever. If I don't know, hey, bro, I need to talk to you. I believe my son is homosexual. Can you reach out to him? Rather than, this is of the devil. No, you're fucking gay. No, man, what the fuck? That's going backwards, right? We can't do that. And I, for one, will not conform to Western ideology that takes me away from my child. I can't. I will not. I would never do that on the ancestors. I would never do that. But yeah, man, I mean, just do the work, research. That's it.
I had a quick question for the parents on this panel before we move on to the next topic. I think Balafessa mentioned about taking responsibility. I mean, we can sit here and complain the system, sit here and complain about the government and these certain ideologies that's been mandated and forced upon us. But at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility, and that a lot of us we voted these people in, and that's something that we have to take accountability for. So I just want to ask you guys, where do you guys draw the line? Because obviously we started seeing a lot of parents here in the West. I brought that example of the Muslim community in LA that the parents drew a line, like, you cross this line, I'm not letting this happen. We're gonna retaliate, and they went to the school and they they had to get physical, but they had to make their point. Like, this is not going to happen to our children. So I'm just interested in you guys. Like, where do you guys draw the line where you are going to start taking responsibility, or you might have to force to take some action because you're not going to let you taking the responsibility that I'm going to teach this to my children, and no one, especially the government, is going to put this force this upon us. And if it happens to be forced upon you, then like, what is your plan, or what is your next move and decision that you're going to make? Go ahead, Savage.
I know what I'm going to do, so I don't need to discuss that. But I guess I'm going to piss the people off. Tongans, right? If you want to see them participate in a protest, attack the church. Watch it happen. Let this school attack the church and watch the Tongans come. I promise you, I guarantee they will be experts out of nowhere. You will see Tongans line up for days. Hell no, we won't go. Yeah, because that's all we know. I said it earlier. We are experts in the biblical sense, but everything else we're lacking in. And the only reason why I believe that, and I can only speak as a Tongan, is we either forgot it or it was deliberately erased for a reason. Paulo Fessa made me emotional when he brought up that we used to look at these people as entities, gods, right? That was sentiment lost for a long time. You will never hear that anywhere, but it reminded me that belongs to us. Us. I can teach that to my kids if I put in the work. So, where do we draw the line? I don't know. And that's the scary part. I don't know. But if you push me, I am going to push back. I promise that.
Hey, Savage, you say, you don't have to discuss what you're going to do, but I'm just curious if they ever force upon you the ideologies to your kids, is homeschooling an option for you? Like, you know what, I'm just going to take my kids from school.
No, because I would be taking away their right of experience.
Okay.
So I'd be a hypocrite if I were to do that.
Okay. No worries. Thank you for sharing, Savage. Pat, let me just pass it to Palafessa, and I come to you, Tui, and I come to you, Natasha. Palafessa, I'm just curious, I know you're a parent as well. Like, if things happen that the government forces upon these ideologies to your children, like, what's your plan, or what is your response to that as a parent, taking responsibility for that?
I'm leaving the country. So a lot of my personal endeavor in the last couple of years have been to put myself in a place where I can execute on that notion. Now, I'm not going to completely abandon ship and move country. There will be a fight, and the vast majority of my involvement with a lot of Pacific Islander initiative pushing it towards government is to be able to have these conversation with those who hold power, and to be able to push back, and to have those conversations directly in front of those who make these decisions, right? But if all hope is lost, I will have to move my family. I've made that a possibility in terms of areas that we were in when the children were very young. We moved out of certain areas so that we don't normalize what degeneracy looks like in society. Now, we can still work in those environments and try and bring hope, but I don't want my children, and this is a bias, people won't agree, people might agree, but for me, I don't want my children to grow up and look at the world in such a lens where it is all right to act inhumane to each other. Right, so I will fight, and I have been fighting for the last 5 years as a parent, and if all else fails, I will move to somewhere like the UAE or similar.
Okay. All right, Professor, thank you for sharing. Pass it to you, Tui. Tui, where do you draw the line as far as overstepping the bounds into your life and responsibility as a parent?
I drew the line already. I removed my daughter from public school. She does not attend. She attends a school that aligns more with our values and our beliefs, and it's very parent involved. Now, unfortunately, I'm one of the few Polynesian parents that are able to do this.
Yeah.
There are a lot of single parents where, I think I say this all the time, but I live in Waianae, Hawaii, and this is the biggest Hawaiian population in the world. And many parents, I would say about a little over a third of Kanaka parents are single, are parenting, are single parent families. And I know it's very difficult to hold down a job and take care of more than one child. So public school is unfortunately the only option for a lot of Polynesians here, especially. And I have been working with 2 separate nonprofits to try to change the curriculum. Not necessarily change the curriculum, but we'll say change the curriculum, because it doesn't serve the children. It doesn't serve children well. Like the kids here are not set up for success. And because this is also one of the poorest sides of Hawaii, unfortunately, we don't always get what we need to help our kids. So, like I said, I drew the line. I wanted to keep my daughter in public school, but it just was not working. So when it cut, like, your question is like, where do I draw the line and what am I going to do? And I started fighting like as soon as she hit middle school, and like have not stopped since. So I have a huge issue. I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I have a huge issue with the American public school system. So I'll just leave it at that.
No, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. It's just logical sense, like Savage said. But
I guess it just depends who you ask, because I mean, a lot of people will say that, it's me and us being sensitive. And
no, you're talking about them Americans. You're talking about them Americans.
Yeah, it could be because it's we get accused of using these things as a crutch. Oh, woe is me, you're a single parent family, or oh, it's on a poorer side of the island, or there's so many things, and they're like, oh, well, you can just climb out of it, and yeah, I mean, you can, but this is we're talking about generations of like a perpetual cycle that we have to break, like a generational perpetual cycle of this that we have to break, and like there's so much more to it. So it depends who you ask.
Now, it's a common tactic that you see especially from the opposing ideology, that everything we're talking about right now, for the average person, it's just logical common sense, But usually the side that supports this, it's usually the very extreme radical left. If you go against it because it makes sense for you, that you want to take the responsibility, that's when they throw those tactics. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. You hate the LGBTQ, or maybe you're misogynist, or you're racist. That's what they use to be able to shut everybody up that opposes what they're trying to teach, even though for everybody it's just common sense. Like, this is common sense that you don't teach kids about sex at a very young age. Go ahead, Savage. Yeah, you have something to say.
I don't want this to come off as like weak-minded or like ignorant, but there's only one way I would agree with it: if my king told me to. That's it. I mean, if the king of Tonga came out and said, teach your kids pronouns, gender identity, that's where my trust is, because my grandma would tell me, my grandpa would tell me, their parents would tell them, and like that's how sure I am of this. My king would never do that. I haven't been in Tonga since 96. It's 2023. If they're not teaching it in Tonga, Why would I follow it? Oh, but you're in America, and look at where we're at. Tongans in Tonga think, oh, they're so far ahead. Then why the fuck am I almost on the brink of going back? Why? I don't know. Just food for thought. But
Mm.
if the king of Tonga ever allowed that, I don't know, man.
Okay. All right. Natasha, I know you wanted to add on.
So this is again just speaking from like where I reside and like my own community. So like I didn't birth the kids, but like my brother's kids are my kids. I've raised them. And so for me, I feel like in a Balangi predominant community, I've already got 2 strikes against me. 1, I'm a woman. 2, I'm brown. And so the level of like validity that my word holds, I have there's a lot of effort that I have to pour into that. There is a certain way that a certain vernacular I have to use. There's a certain demeanor that I have to exude. And for me, people will call it conforming. But in the beginning, when I first spoke, I spoke about resilience and I spoke about sewing that into our children at a young age. And so for me, nothing about when in Rome. But if I'm in a situation where my kids are being subjected to ideologies or something that's not for me, and out of my voice and just being a guardian figure is not enough, you better believe 5,000% I'm going to PTA meetings. I'm gonna go to board meetings. I'm gonna get involved in the school. You will see me chaperoning because my thing is that the only way that we as PI people can have representation is if we make the steps forward to do it. And the thing is that when we move with the correct motive and when we move with a community mentality, because for me, in making a decision to put myself in, I won't say an uncomfortable situation, but where I'm outnumbered because I'm one alone. When they see one, they all come, period. And I live in a community where our PI community is where when they see one voice and they feel empowered because you are doing things in a way that nobody would expect because they see me, a big, someone took it out girl, and they're going to assume that the moment that adversity is at my door, that I'm going to get loud and violent. If you press me, yes, I will. But I was raised with grace. My foundation that I stand on is a foundation of grace. And when I speak and when I'm in public, I'm not just representing me. I represent the foundation that I stand on. I represent the woman that raised me. And what I'm not going to do is punk out and lose my cool, but I'm going to make sure that my presence is known because I have a niece who is my goddaughter that looks to me. And I need her to know that as a mixed baby, she can have anything she wants. She can go for all of it. If she's not going to get what she wants by doing things the right way, then she's going to infiltrate where she is able to, and she's going to make an impact. And not to say that this is going to like solve everyone's issues, but I think that we are undermined as a people. And when we come in numbers and when we show up with the sophistication, with the educated mentalities, and with the voices that hold conviction, people realize that we're bigger than just athletes. We're not just people that out here and are good because of our size. We are smart as shit, but we've allowed colonizers to come in and infiltrate our islands and make us think that that success looks like what they say it looks like. And that really ain't what it is. So for me, I mean, the world is going to do what the world is going to do, and we can't stop that. But what we can do is get in every area and every facet that we're able to or allowed to make sure that our kids are not just receiving that guidance and that knowledge and like at home, but that they see us active because that matters too, right? Like I grew up a kid where like I played sports, I was in choir, but like my mom was so infatuated with bingo. Like you ask her how many recitals that she came to of mine, she didn't. But through my childhood and through my upbringing, because I was the test, I always call the older children, because I'm the oldest daughter, the test run kids, because they learn through us, right? So that me understanding that eliminates any resentment that I could have towards my younger siblings that lived better lives and had more present parents, because they're better because of me. You're welcome. That's how I view things. But for me, it's the same concept as being an adult, whether it be a parent or a guardian or an uncle or an auntie or older sibling, that we have to make sure that our representation is always as impactful in a graceful and respectful way, because that, one, keeps our roots intact, but two, it gives them a power that a lot of people, specifically colonizers, don't really understand, because colonizer power is manipulation. And and that's really what it comes down to. So anyways, my 2 cents is if you can't go, if it's not working to, because not everyone can do homeschool. It's like Tui said, I mean, even here in California, the cost of living is a nightmare. So to have to think about having one parent stay home and school the kids, well, and I mean, not everyone has that leisure. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if you're not able to do that, there's no shame in that. But if that's the case, get in the schools, get involved, because if you're present, and then you find like minds and find, make those connections in your community, I think that we would be really surprised how impactful that would be. And if all else fails, we just pull everyone out and homeschool everyone in one roof. Just kidding. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
All right, thank you, Natasha. No, I think it's great. I think it's powerful to hear all you guys that you're willing to fight for what you believe in, and then you have a line that you're gonna draw in the sand. You guys are not gonna cross this. I'm going to do something about it. And I think that's what I brought up early in the podcast. The ideology that we have to accept everything, the ideology that we have to tolerate everything. I believe it creates very weak and docile people. And then I think part of it, the government, is a way to control people, control the masses. When you create a weak society with a weak mentality, they're more susceptible to just take the changes that they want to implement within the community. So, but it's always good to hear that there are a lot of people out there that they're going to fight for it. But I do see that a lot of the acceptance ideology and the tolerance ideology, that a lot of people out there, they want to do something, but they don't want to, like I said, they don't want to offend anybody. We live in this culture that you can't offend anybody no more. We have to care about people's feelings over the truth and the reality. And that's why you see a lot of people, they don't take action, and they just let these things happen. And then there will be a point, I believe, if we don't do anything about it, we don't see examples of people fighting up and standing for what they believe in. And we're starting to see it in the different communities. I brought up that Muslim community in LA. They're starting to do it, but there will be a breaking point eventually, because people are, eventually we're just gonna see the consequences of this happening to our families. But I appreciate everybody that's watching this right now. Thank you so much. Let's keep that live chat popping. All right, let's get the likes up real quick. All right, let's get the likes up. And of course, don't forget, this is a public stream, so we have a lot of room on this panel. I would love to hear from more perspectives and different opinions. And if you're watching this right now and you actually disagree with a lot of things we say, or maybe you support the woke culture, I would love to hear from your perspective and challenge us on the things that we said, and we can have our open and cordial conversation, whether we agree or disagree. And don't forget, if there's something that you guys want us to talk about as well, drop it. The best way to do it, if you truly support the platform and you want to donate to my channel, drop a super chat donation and let me know what you think. I'll definitely put it on the screen and shout out to you, but also respond to any questions that you guys may have. That's the best way to do it. All right, but let's move on to the next topic. I want to bring this up for you guys. Obviously, I don't know if you guys are aware, but kids today can give consent to transition their bodies and become from a biological woman to become a trans man, or from a biological male to become a trans female. They could they can go to a doctor without your permission as a parent. I think now in California, the healthcare providers are not obligated. They can use the parents' healthcare to get the medical assistance or hormone blockers they need, and the healthcare does not have to report it to you as a parent, even though your healthcare is paying for your kids' drugs to be able to transition. So they can get consent. I think also in California, And Cali is it's a crazy place to live. I give myself 5 years here in California to see where it's at. I may have to move to the east, Florida or Texas or somewhere. But I'll give it a 5 years. The weather's great over here. But I think here in California, if the parent stops the kid from transitioning, I think here in California the kid can report you to home services, I believe, and then they can lock you up as a parent for denying your children the ability to be able to transition. It's crazy. It's crazy what's happening right now. So these are all things that's happening right now. And of course, I am aware that there's some places, depending on where you're watching this stream from, which country or state, it may not be prevalent or happening in your state. But I do believe if it happens in one place, slowly over time, there's a trickle down effect. It can influence other states because it's the same people that's passing this. It's all the people on the top. So let me pass it to you guys. What are your thoughts about that? And also, my biggest issue with using the drugs to transition these kids, I don't think we have enough evidence or studies to show that the long-term effects of what happens when these kids transition. Because there are a lot of reports out there, and I've seen a lot of examples of kids transitioning, and then later on, when they become a full-grown adult, they realize that, I don't really want to become a trans man or a trans woman. But like I said, these once you go under the knife or you take these hormone blockers, a lot of these things are irreversible. It's permanent. You can't take it back, and it's sad. It's sad to see. And I don't think if you guys seen that the documentary "What Is a Woman" by Matt Walsh. There was a guy on that documentary that transitioned, and he.
Are you a cat?
do you identify as a cat? But yeah, there's a lot of examples of kids. A lot of kids transitioning, and later on when they become adults, they realize that they made a mistake, but they can't go back now. Now they have to live with reality, with the body and the decisions they made. So. Let me pass it to you guys. What are your thoughts on that? Kids having they can make the choice for themselves to be able to choose their gender and transition and change their gender without the parents' consent. Let me start with the ladies. I'll start with you, Tui. Tui, what are your thoughts on that, Tui?
So I went through this with my daughter this past year, and I don't agree with gender affirming care. I don't like, children should not be allowed to make life altering decisions like this for themselves without parental consent. And even then, you just have to look at like certain cases that are out in public, like Jazz Jennings. I think that's what.
Jazz Jennings.
Jazz Jennings. So her entire transition is for the public. This is the first case of a boy being put on hormone blockers. So at 11, and living as a girl until she was 17. That's insane. That her parents would just allow her to be on these hormone blockers. We don't have we have nothing to go off of what the effects are long term.
Yeah.
Of these hormone blockers, and people will tell you, oh, it's totally reversible. But if you speak to a lot of, if you really look for the doctors that are going to tell you, oh, it's totally reversible, if you change your mind, it's totally done. If you look for those doctors, of course you're going to find them. But any doctor, any MD will tell you, you make these choices now, we don't know the effects later. We don't. And so any parent who's allowing these things to happen for their children to make these decisions, that's irresponsible. In this case, I do believe that CPS should be called, because that's a form of abuse. That's insane.
Yeah.
Why would you ever let your child do this? And I went through we went through this whole thing with my daughter, and we did all the research we could, and in the end, of course, she just wanted to do it because she just wanted to be trans anything because of what she saw on TikTok. And my first mistake was I gave you a phone, give it back, no more social media, and like took the phone away, totally different kid. Take access, like took her out of the school, away from the friends, like totally different kid. Like I tried to give her options and, let her I tried to allow her to make her own decisions. And to some degree, I still think that she should be allowed to make her own decisions. But overall, that was such a stupid idea. Like at some point, like parents need to understand these are fucking kids. We are their parents. Like, what are we thinking? Allowing them to having opinions, totally fine. You can think whatever the fuck you want. You can believe in whatever the fuck you want. But anything that has to do with you, your anatomy until you're 18 years old belongs to me. The end.
Facts. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Tui. Let me pass it to you, Savage. Savage, what do you want to add on? Go ahead, Savage.
Yeah, I don't fuck with that, honestly, because there there's a reason why there's a driver's test, right? There's a reason why we put limitations on drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. It's called development, right? And if a child is not mentally developed to comprehend the physical anatomy of themselves, how irresponsible is it that we give them that freedom to choose so? They haven't even gone to college, yet you want to give them all this power?
Mm-hmm.
Hell, there are people who graduated from high school and don't know their ankle bone to their wrist bone. And you want to go ahead and be irresponsible as a government. Wow, that's amazing. Like, for me, that's problematic. I said it earlier. I am ancestral. I believe in the ancestral connection. So, there are only two reasons why people take medicine or pills. Because one, you're sick, or two, you cannot sustain your life naturally. If you need pills to be a trans man or a trans woman, you're not that. I'm sorry, right? Listen, I don't care what you're going to tell me. I don't care if this video goes viral. I'm going to tell you what my ancestors knew, and I'm going to tell you what the Mahuahine knows, the Fafafinga, and the Fakaleti knows. They don't need any of those enhancements, surgeries, or pills and medicines to be what they are not. That's straight up simple. That's logical. If you need science to give you that, are you naturally that? And because I believe in the ancestors, there's the law of naturality. If it is not of nature, I cannot acknowledge you. And I'm sorry, that's just what I believe. If you're going to tell me that what I believe in is offending you, damn, there's a conflict of interest. Because a society in where we live in that allows you, a child, to dictate that they want to be this because of what they believe at 8, 9, 10, 11? If you cannot uphold that till you're 60 naturally, the lie you are living, the lie, the fallacy, the deception, that's woke as shit. I don't know. If you want to talk about woke, that's the woke I don't fuck with. You're asleep as shit. You think you're woke. You're sleeping with your eyes open. That's all that is. So, with that being said, listen, If you disagree with me, show me that you can naturally be a man or a woman opposite to what you were born as. Show me that you can do it naturally, and I will acknowledge you. If you cannot, I will not allow you to discredit ancestral knowledge. Sorry, I won't. So, with that being said, if my kids ever want that conversation, we will have it. But I will not allow any third party, outside source, or anyone other than me and my wife to do that. So, from me and the ancestors, fuck you.
All right. Always. Thank you for sharing that, Savage. I'll pass it on to you, Natasha. What do you think, Natasha, about the kids be able to give consent for themselves to be able to transition genders?
So just for the sake of like keeping shit factual, because I'm really big on like shit like that. In terms of like the act that they were trying to pass, it wasn't necessarily saying that minors or any youth under the age of 18 is allowed to like make their own decision. This is specifically in the state of California. They're not that they're able to like sign their own consent, but that if they were, because there was a lot of, and I remember this specifically because I was reading a lot about it. There was a lot of misunderstanding about what that bill that they were trying to propose meant. And basically what it was trying to say is that if there was a child that was like in the system as an example, and there was visitation and custody and guardianship being in question, if the child was claiming to be a transitioning child or a gender fluid child, then that would give the court the power to make the decision of whether the child is returned home or if they're sent elsewhere, or if the child gets to decide that they're going to emancipate themselves from their parents, which in the event that they are emancipated, they are then able to make that decision on their own. So in terms of gender reassignment, transgender, all of those things, it's not to say that I am someone that is for it. Because again, for me, this is sticky ground in a sense that like, if someone is saying that, hey, this is what I identify as, and like, I'm going to go through the process. The one thing that I will be is I will contribute to that encouragement of like, go through the process. Because for those that don't know, making that decision to transition, even just with starting with the hormonal medications, there is an entire process that has to happen, because they have to make sure that psychologically, emotionally, mentally, like that the person is ready for that type of journey. So I'm gonna leave that alone and not have an opinion about that. But what I will say, Underground Roads had said something way earlier about the emotional stability and emotional maturity of the children. And I feel like with our youth with our children, elementary school children being subjected or exposed to the LGBTQ community in the way that it is in this day and age, without any sensory, I feel like it steals their innocence from them. It puts them in a space where they feel that they have to like pick a box or pick like a label. And that's not something that I'm for. And no, Rose, I'm not saying, sorry, I'm going to really quickly, because I see the chat going. It's nothing to do about not being against it or being for it. I just don't believe that I'm someone to judge that. Because if I'm being 100, if I have a child or if I have a nephew or a niece that comes to me and says, hey, Auntie, like I have this going on, I'm not going to double down and be like, oh yeah, for sure, 100% do it. But I want to know where the thought process comes from. I want to know the whys. It's kind of like how Tui was saying with her daughter, like you pull the phone and it changed her. It's everything about how influential you are at home versus how much influence your child is picking up from outside in the world. Because outside these walls, my kids know who they are. So when my kids go out there, or if my kids are on their iPad, which by the way, all their iPads are on parent lock, I have all that down. They don't get it even on kids' YouTube. They're on PBS TV because that's what it is. And Disney Plus, they don't get it. Everything is censored. But I feel like rather than, I'm not a person to be like, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or it doesn't correlate or align with what I believe. I want to create a space to understand why. Because from what I've read, and even just me being really curious about things in life, a lot of those things stem from lack of acceptance, lack of visibility. It's lack of finding, where they belong, or maybe they felt like they were ousted, or whatever the case is. And like, I never want to be someone or emulate the behavior of someone that is excluding somebody. On a minor scale, I know what it's like to feel left out of something. I know what it's like to not be Samoan or Polynesian enough. I know what it's like to be told I'm less than the majority. And so for me, I never want to impede that emotion on other people. So I am completely evading, like, giving my opinion about, I don't think it's right at a young age for a child should not be responsible to make that kind of decision. And we can sit here and beat a dead horse all day, right? Because we all feel that way. That like there are so many things in this day and age that kids are subjected to, and we don't have power over that all the time. But if their foundation that they stand on is firm and the communication lines are solid, it's one less thing that I have to deal with in my own home. But I'm never gonna teach my kids, or be an example of what it means to tell someone that, they're wrong for who they are, or, whatever the case may be. So take that how you want it. I'm very neutral, and I try to be, because that's important to me. And I never, that's just that. So.
Okay. All right. No worries. Natasha, thank you for sharing. I'll pass it to you, Palafisa. Palafisa, what are your thoughts on the topic at hand? Go ahead, Palafisa.
Yeah, I don't have much to speak on in terms of, I think everyone covered pretty much a vast majority of what I was going to speak on, but I think what has lost in society now is the nature of children is to be explorative, and they're quite impressionable. It's part of our job as adults is that we get over the shit that we've gone through as children, whatever trauma, whatever pain that we've gone through, and to learn how to cope and to develop tools that allows us to safely navigate our adult life. And a part of our responsibility to the youth is that we give them those measures, we give them those boundaries. As a child, I used to think I was Superman until I got a little bit too high on a mango tree and my body didn't bounce back like it used to. And from then on forward, I no longer wanted to be Superman. I wanted to be a telekinesis until I stared too long at an object and got migraine. And I thought, maybe I'm not. Right? It's part of our nature as developing human beings is that we explore boundaries. And the responsibility of the elders before us is to give us where the line is. This is where we draw the line. However, if you want to pursue beyond the horizons of what we understand, you must do it with full conviction and to pursue it to the end degree until you find something that is robust. None of the things that we are exploring now is robust. And then unfortunately we are driving rhetorics that declares it is robust enough for drastic change to youth and children. I am not neutral. Part of my experiences as a child and growing up to be an adult has given me the boundaries that I need to have in order to operate as a human being and to safely navigate my life and the life of those who depend on me in some way or form. And part of that responsibility is to give those boundaries to my children. Now, they can choose to explore beyond those boundaries, but they must do it with full conviction, not as an explorative measure as, I'm just going to try this because it looks good. So that's where I stand. I don't need evidence to see that a medical castration of a human being is unnatural. I don't need that. I know that is unnatural, and that we are furthering the isolation that a lot of these people have by pushing them towards this newfound idea of you can just go and take a part of your body, a natural part of your body, because that is how you become the other. No, you further isolate yourself from everyone that you are close to. It is not robust enough to put any metric or long-term measure on, and it is extremely dangerous.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Balafessa. I have this video I want to share real quick and watch. I don't know if you guys seen this video. It went viral on TikTok and YouTube. It's a trans biological woman that transitioned into a trans man, and it looks like a man physically, but the pronouns is I can't even know what pronoun to use, but it's a trans, right? Trans man, but he was crying on social media because she's still innately biologically as a woman, but experiencing how the world treat men for the first time, which is clearly different how women get treated. She said that the life of a man is very lonely. People don't check up on you. People don't compliment you. People don't, if you're talking about you have a problem, an issue, they don't really care about the problem when you're a man. Obviously, when you're a woman, when you talk about your issues, there'll be a lot of men out there trying to save you, trying to give you affection or give you help. But she was just crying on social media about being a man is hard. It's totally different than being a woman, which is interesting because this is, like I told you guys before, I think from my perspective, you should wait till you become a full-grown adult. You go through adolescence and then make the decision. By making a decision at a very young age and not getting the education that when you transition into a different gender, the world will treat you differently as a man than compared to being a woman. But you will only find that out unless you go and unless you become a man or unless you become a woman. But I don't know if you guys seen this video. I want to play it real quick and then just let me know what your reactions are. Let me just share my screen real quick. I don't know if you guys can see it. Hopefully the audio is going to work.
They're so much harder to build. And people are colder. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men. Because this shit is lonely. And I'm an emotionally mature man. I know how to build friendships, and it is still really, really hard. Try to think about how you can, in your small little community where you feel safe, can reach out to the men in your life and just help them feel maybe seen for a moment. Or do little conversations to help their emotional maturity so that they can reach out to people and have deeper guy friends. They're so much harder to build.
It's that isolation I was speaking on before. Sorry to jump in, Will, but I think what we're seeing in a lot of these examples, and I'm not going to use this video as an example of why this is wrong or why this is right. I think there are cases where people have done this specific medical treatment and are now living their life as if they were happier than they were. I'm not going to deny those people who truly find happiness in whatever that is, right? Because there are cases to be argued against anything that we believe in. But what I'm going to speak on is capacity versus capability. As men, we have a natural capacity towards things that women aren't, and women have a natural capacity towards things that we men don't have. Although you may have the same capability as a woman being a man, or as a woman as a man being a woman, or whatever it is, it does not mean that you also have the same capacity. I may be as capable as my wife, but I will never have her capacity to absorb and to tolerate her life as a woman. My wife may have the same capability as I have as a man, but she will never have the same capacity that I have, right? So these are things that I find beautiful in dynamics that we have as men and women, and whatever it is that we belong to. And it's such a beautiful thing that we often forget. You may be capable. Yes, I'm not going to deny you that. We may be racing the same 100-meter track, and we may be in the same line. But in order of capacity, there are just things that are naturally attuned to us as men, and then there are things that are naturally attuned to women. And unfortunately, in these conversations, that is so lost. This woman is speaking to an understanding that she has as a woman who is now wanting to be a man, who has done all the work that has convinced her to be a man, and she still does not understand what it means to be a man. It is very lonely as a man, and the chaos that we deal with, completely different from women, does not mean that we exist on a higher plane that women does. It's just a different game that we play. And it's, although it may seem sad or lonely, it is what we do as men. It is part of the things that we're created for. There are terms called we're the sacrificial sex. We go to war, we do all these things. But in the end of that, we do it for the women and children that are in our care. And a man who does all of these things without a woman or a family to look after is one that is lacking a part of the things that make us complete human beings. That beautiful dynamic that we have, that we share. A woman that raises to us when we walk through the door and give us a big old hug, and then puts a battery in your back for the next 20 years. That you get up and remember that little, the smell on her neck, or the warmth of her skin or her body, and the embrace that she gave you. You never had to share it. You never have to say it to anyone, oh, wow, what a feeling. You keep it and you hold it near to you as a man, and you operate in such. Unfortunately, that's lost in this human being who struggles so much to be something that they are not, and are further isolating themselves from an experience that they thought would give them happiness to a degree.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Paulo Fessa. I see Snubby FPV. Hey, what's up? I said, what up, Will? Hey, what's up, Subby? Good to see you back on the live chat. Yeah, let me know what you guys think on the live chat on that video, but let me pass it back to the panel. What were I think probably first time watching that video, but what was your reaction to that video? I'll start with you, Tui. What was your reaction when you saw that video?
I don't know if there's anything else that I can add that Paulo Fessa didn't already, but I think this just reiterates my point of people not, like, no one checking each other. Like, people are not checking each other. They're not checking themselves. Like, everyone is just allowed, like, without rules, everyone runs rampant. There is chaos, and like there's a reason that there's structure. Now, I don't have a problem with the LGBTQ community. I don't have a problem using whichever acronym of the we, or adding extra letters to their acronym, or, like, you know, plus or minus signs. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem referring to you as any pronoun. I don't. Like, if people want to go through the process of transitioning, okay. But I think there's just this huge disconnect with things like this, where people believe they are something without really going through other channels to check themselves. I don't know how else to put that. You know, like, everyone's a yes man, and I don't know when it just got so out of hand where everyone just, like, vomits all this great positivity, but it's not positivity, it's delusion. You know, and I see a man on the screen crying and saying how hard life is as a man, and I understand it, because that, you know, as a man, I know you guys understand that, you know, there's no room for a whole lot of sensitivity to the things that you have to go through, because you go to work, you provide for your family. Yeah. You know, nobody checks your mental health a lot of the time, unless, you know, you happen to surround yourselves with, you know, a really solid support system where people are constantly checking in on you. You know, it's a lonely life, and You are a man, you walk through life alone, and then you find people that you can relate to, people that boost you up. You find a good woman, to make a family with, and you have children, and like this is your legacy, like this. And I just feel like that whole concept of the nuclear family has been lost because everyone has turned into a yes man. And I don't know why, when I say things like this, or anyone says anything like this, people are attacked. Like, because of, like, this is what I think. This is my opinion. This is how I feel about the situation. And I'm tired of coming out and saying these things and everyone thinking that because I'm an ethnic minority and a female, that I can't have these opinions. And the truth of the matter is we can still respect each other and see eye to eye on some things, but not everything, and I think it's just everyone's so extreme with everything, we end up with this. So, that's where I am with it.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Tui. Let me pass it to you, Savage. Savage, what was your reaction when you saw that video?
Don't get me wrong, I felt for that person, but it made me mad. Like, I'm angry as fuck because to me, you are still a woman looking through the scope of a man's life. He had the audacity to be like, I'm an emotionally mature man. You weren't born that way. So you're taking that away from us too? You can't. Like, here's my thing. Unwritten, right? Unspoken. The first rule about being a man, keep that shit to yourself. We don't need to know that shit. You need to call me and tell me you're a man? No. Welcome to the real world. Like, I'm not going to tell you the experience of a man. I'm not going to tell you the experience of a woman. What I will tell you, ancestrally, observation, perspective, and role. Majority versus minority. Majority of it, when it comes to exploring, hunting, gathering, voyaging, majority of it comes by the role of the man. I'm not saying women cannot do it. Majority of it is man, right? The minority happen to be the women. Now, there are things in reverse or contrast to that women are a majority and men are the minority. But we don't need to transition into a woman to experience that, because then what happens? We discredit you, telling you what you already know. I'm sorry that you had to transition to feel that. Guess what? We still live on. We have to move. The next day, if I decide to be like, bro, I'm depressed because I'm a man and it's just hard being lonely, I don't think I'm going to go to work. You dumbass motherfucker. If you do not get your ass up and go work, your family does not eat. Then you go back to ancestral times. If you don't get up and go in the forest and hunt our food, we die. The tribe is affected, but nothing has changed. But yet you think that getting on a video for about 3 minutes and airing up, I didn't know this was going to be this difficult. Motherfucker! If that was the case, we should be doing that all the fucking time. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with a man being in touch with their emotions, but we don't need you to tell us that. We don't need to. You know why? Because the world still goes on. Life still moves on. And it's not, listen, I don't want to make it sound dark and grim. It's not because no one cares. It's that you understand observation, perspective, and role. You observe that the man might be better at that than I am as the woman. So my perspective is it'll be faster if he does it so I can do this. Roles. Simple logic. But no, I wanted to transition to really get the full experience. And what did you do? You folded. Welcome to death row. This shit ain't easy. I ain't out there trying to get a period. I ain't out there trying to get pregnant. That shit I will never be able to do. I will never be. And even if I wanted to, right? even if I wanted to, I sure as hell am not gonna get on a video and air out what I feel when women are gonna look at me and be like, bitch, we've been doing that. What the fuck? Who is this? No, I don't need you to get on a video and tell me what it's like to be a man. Because now, guess what? There's a generation coming after you, that's gonna watch that video. Why is that man crying, Daddy? Why? They said they're lonely. They feel isolated. And you know what? In my honest heart to hearts, I'm gonna tell that boy, I'm gonna tell that son from the perspective of a man, the observation of a man, and the one who's lived the role of a man that's not a man. Not to deny you your life, but to acknowledge that I have been a man for a long time and that I've been doing this for a long time. And I will not allow you, someone who gets on a video clip, just to air that shit out because what? You had a bad day? Well, you get in line. So, with that being said, that shit made me angry. That's if that is what woke is, go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. Please.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Savage. I'm going to pass it to you, Natasha. What was your reaction to that video?
So the one thing that I value about getting to be a part of this podcast is the variation of perspectives and perceptions of things, because I learn a lot apart from like what I receive when we have conversations or when topics come up or when we get to react to videos. With that said, I feel like more often than not, my my kindness and my love for people gets mistaken as like a weakness or like my being naive, and like call it what you want it. But that's how I was raised, and because of being raised that way, that's the foot that I will always lead with. My first initial reaction to that video naturally was one, it was sympathy. I mean, anytime someone's crying, I'm a sucker. I will be the first one to lend an ear, shoulder, ask you what's wrong. Secondly, from a woman in acknowledging that that's a trans male, not a male, because I think that's my biggest thing too, is that I create, for me, when there's conversations being had about transgenders and biological, gender assignment, I'm very clear about that. To me, a trans man does not mean you're a man. You are a trans man. That trans term will live in front of your gender because that's who you are. Because to me, I very much believe in that being a thing. Because I think it's kind of like, how Sav talks, like men are biologically, they're created differently. And there are not enough medicines in this world for a woman to take that's going to equate her to that biology of a man. That's that capability versus capacity that I feel like Bala was talking about. So in addition to feeling sympathy, I also felt like, okay, well, that's this woman recognizing or acknowledging that the life of a man is not easy. That when you thought that you were making this transition and looking for happiness and looking for peace, maybe you didn't fully understand the responsibility of a man in society. And again, I feel like when I say that, my perception of who a man is and who a man should be in their own life, in their family life, in their professional life, it's going to be significantly different from someone that grew up in it, that's a different ethnicity, that's a different demographic. But for me, I see that as that person acknowledging that, yeah, being a man is tough, because you know why? I'm very much that woman that feels like there's not enough safe spaces for men. There's not enough safe spaces that normalize men being in tune with their emotions, because there's so many women out here and even other men that are like, yo, you're a punk for having emotions. Like, I value a man that is in, like, it's like Sav said, that is in tune with their emotions. To me, that is a strength. And I feel like when I imagine that when someone makes that decision to pursue a transition or, that process or whatever, that like, I wonder if that's something that's left out, or if that's something that's a part of the, because I believe, and I speak from a place of like, my dad has been he is the breadwinner. He's the sole provider of this family. And My dad busts his ass day in and day out. That man will leave at 3 a.m, come back at 4 p.m. or afternoon. You know what I mean? And for me, like, I can't do that. And I mean, and I feel like there again, it's that whole like Paulo Vista said, the capability versus the capacity. That no matter whether you're a woman, a trans man, or whatever the case is, your biology and what you were designed for, the capacity and the capability you were designed for will always be what is at the forefront of like who you are, no matter your like gender identification. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, no worries. Thank you for sharing that, Natasha. I mean, it's just our objective truth that men and women, we have different realities, especially our roles and our biological roles and responsibilities in this world. And I think in that video, and I think Tui brought it up on the podcast. There's no long-term data out there to show that the long-term effects of how this is going to affect it. And we're just trying something brand new, even though a lot of the pharmaceutical companies claim that there is data, which is false because this ideology just started recently in the last couple of years. But unfortunately, we have to learn this the hard way with the people that's going to transition, and they're going to face realities that men and women experience different things. And one of the realities of being a man is no one's going to come save you. And every man who grows up from a boy to become a man understands this, that our value in society is going to be based on our ability to provide and protect. And if you don't work on taking that kind of responsibility and build yourself up and find some kind of purpose or competence in yourself to rise up in your ability as a man to do that, then it's going to be really, really hard for society to kind of give you any kind of recognition as a man, because we look, families, women, children, the world, they look for us to be the leaders and providers and protectors, especially in times of adversity. So, and she's learning at the hard, and I was getting confused, but he's learning it the hard way that you can't just exist as a man, expect to be recognized and expect to be loved. Like you have to provide some kind of value, and usually that value is on the form of your ability to provide and protect. And the world is not going to come save you. Women are not going to come save you, or they won't even recognize you as a man unless you get up and save yourself. But it's just a different reality. And Savage, I'll let you respond. Go ahead.
No, it really bothered me that, if he identifies as trans man, the fact that you claim emotional maturity as a man, that hurt me a lot, because if I can't be a man to the world, you're gonna take that away too? How did you get that emotional maturity as a man? I have brothers right now who are in their 30s who don't even have that, and yet you claim that. I know 2 of my brothers who've committed or attempted suicide and still don't have emotional intelligence, and yet you sit there and have the nerve to claim emotional maturity. Bitch, no, you don't. That's female strength. That is what women can do way better than men, is process their emotions and get right back to business. For us men, we don't have the time or the luxury to get that. We got to get up and go now. And then for you to be like, oh, it's emotional maturity as a man. Ooh, man, the fucking nerve. If that is what woke is, ooh, Jesus, man, you ain't teaching that to my kids. By hell, you have every right to be a trans man. By all means, go ahead. But you're not going to take away us earning the right to be a man. Just like I will never do that to a girl a girl who's going to grow up to be a woman. I'm not going to tell her what she is and isn't. She'll know better than I. Listen, I'll even tell you right now, my daughter probably knows what a woman is way better than I could tell you. And she's 10. So in that video, I'm really disturbed that video even came out. I had no idea. That shit hurt me, dog, and not in a good way. Like almost like that's gonna be the norm. That if that's what's gonna be the norm, you're not teaching my son. I promise that.
All right, no worries. Thank you for sharing your reactions. And I appreciate everybody on the live chat. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. And don't forget, this is a public platform. If you guys want to jump on, we are coming to the conclusion of the show. If you want to jump on and just share your final thoughts and your opinions, definitely click on the link. For the last thing to conclude for this podcast, I have a very controversial thing I want to share with you guys. I'm interested to hear your take. I saw this on Twitter. Twitter. I saw this on Twitter. I wanted to share with you guys. Obviously, that we know that the unfortunate events that's happening in Maui. If people don't know, but I think most people watching this channel, they know what's going on in Maui. There was a fire, and they definitely need a lot of help and support right now. I want to hear your thoughts about it because I just saw on Twitter that Joe Biden is I think he approved $700 to send to the residents that got affected by Maui. But it was interesting on this tweet on this Twitter feed. Joe Biden sent $113 billion to Ukraine to fix their country, but only sent $700 per person.
No, it's per household. It's absolutely insane. It's 700 per freaking household.
Per household. So let me read this tweet.
I'm pissed about it. Sorry.
Let me read this tweet. It's interesting because I want to talk about it because this is I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. I'm just gonna share my screen, entire screen. Okay. And hopefully you guys can see my screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I saw this tweet. Hopefully you guys can see it. And hopefully you guys can see this tweet. I saw that Joe Biden has sent over $113 billion to Ukraine, which has a population of about 43 million, equaling more than $3,000 per person. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has sent just $700 per person to Maui fire victims, or per household. Correction by Natasha. Why are U.S. citizens treated worse than Ukrainian citizens? So it's just it was an interesting tweet. Obviously, we're Pacific Islander here, so obviously a lot of us. Especially there's a lot of families that are being affected within our community. So I think for me, it was just reading that I was like, man, that's kind of messed up. So let me pass it back to you guys and stop sharing. Okay, what do you guys think about the action of Joe Biden, especially with the Maui situation happening right now? Just what are your general thoughts? Because I think that's a problem. That America, Joe Biden sending that type of money to fix a problem in a foreign country, but not focusing our resources to our regular citizens that are part of this country. But that's all with Tui. Tui, you're from. I know you live currently living in Hawaii. What are your thoughts about that? Because I'm interested to hear your perspective and to end the podcast with this. Go ahead, Tui.
So we spent the last 6.5 days running supplies over from Oahu to Maui.
Yeah.
And the first 3 days, the first 2.5 days, we did not receive any government intervention or assistance or help. All of the help that we received in Lahaina and all of West Maui was from local people. And over the last 4 days, we have received more help from out of state, out of country, than we have from FEMA and the Red Cross. So within the first 3 days, we pretty much had Kanaka Costco's set up on every corner that you could possibly think of. In every beach park, we had donations. I mean, granted, we had to stop for a second and organize, and it's, we're still in an organizational process. But keep in mind that FEMA is out here and they're functioning on almost no money. So when we got word the other day that Joe Biden had approved 700, and Natasha is correct, it's per household.
Wow.
was the biggest kick in the balls that we could receive, because it just confirms that the U.S. does not give two shits about Hawaii or the people here. That is what that confirmed for all of the locals here. Like we have each other, because Hawaii is such a close, tight knit community. Even though we're on different islands, we will always pull together and help our community always. But the fact that they didn't show up for the first 2.5 days
That's
spoke
crazy.
spoke volumes. So I all I can say is, that when what I do want to mention something. We were running supplies by boat back and forth, okay, and we were stopped by the Coast Guard, and they threatened at one point either we would be arrested or cited if we were caught coming to bring supplies over to people.
Wow.
Now, obviously, they changed their tune in the last few days, and the Coast Guard helped us load their boats to bring stuff over. But they closed off certain boat ramps so that we couldn't, like, people were coming to the shore, to the boats, to get water. Like, no, for the first 4 days, no electricity, no water. How are we gonna get food? Most of these people, want to apply through FEMA, they have no IDs. FEMA is asking for IDs. I'm sorry. Their shit's on fire. They ran out of the house without their fucking wallets.
Yep.
Like their social security number should be enough, but it's not. They have to go through this whole process. And then we have to worry about the state government coming in with land grabs. They want to pay off the land taxes that are back owed, and they want to put up these emergency shelters, away from the land that the people own, which is like, the whole thing here is just insane. Joe Biden gives us $700 for our displaced families, which can maybe get them one round at Costco. One trip. That's one Costco trip. Like, not keeping in mind that most of these people don't even have places to store their items, okay? So, where are the emergency shelters? Like, we are working with each other as locals to come up with emergency shelters. We're coming up with shipping containers to put these families in temporarily. Where is the government assistance? $700? Fuck you, Biden. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm going off on a rant, but that's what I think about it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Tui. I'll pass it to you, Natasha. Natasha, what are your thoughts on that?
There are 3,500 resident households accounted for the total population of Maui, right? In the Lahaina area, 3,500. That's only $2,500,000 for these M1 Abrams tanks that they sent over to Ukraine. One in itself, and we're just talking worth, is $13 million. And this son of a gun sent 31 over there. So we're not even talking about the cost to get those there, the people that were sent there. That alone was about $405 million. You mean to tell me that we out here not taking care of our own? And okay, I speak from a place where I'm in Northern California. So I didn't just encounter the Tubbs fire that was out here. For those of you that are not familiar with what happened here in Northern California back in 2016, 17, 18, and 19, a 4-year span of being in fire range. My family, my household, we had to evacuate a multitude of times. My dad works for the electric company out here, so he was a first responder. My little sister worked for the county first responder. So when I tell you that the anxiety and PTSD, I mean, thank you, Jesus, that we have our house and the fires didn't make it out into our area, but it was in my backyard. So for me, this feels very personal when there is a lacking of government assistance, because, like Tui said, I've seen videos. I mean, I have family and friends, even from here. We're trying to figure out how to get stuff there because, the ship, the cargo, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. The containers are being turned around. Like I read an article about, the national, they're going outskirts. They're not even just staying right at the docks and turning cargoes away. They're doing it out on the water. And I don't understand why, because there are millions, there are thousands of people that are without anything. And I read, that when they initially announced, when Biden announced that he was only going to be giving $700 to each household, that same day I read an article that said that they still have four sets of unidentified bodies. Like it was literally apocalyptic. Like what they're going through over there, like I can't even imagine, because a majority of what they are finding are children. Because what a lot of people don't know is that my school was canceled. My cousin's a teacher out there, but I also saw it on like social media. School was canceled. So when these fires where there was no alarm systems, where no warnings, no nothing, swept through Lahaina, a majority of their fatalities is going to be kids, And so it's like, for me, like my mom is from Oahu, like I was born there, but like for that, it hits very close to home because we have people there that mean something. And so to feel helpless on top of like, that's what the president's giving. Like, I'm obviously annoyed by it, but like, that's why it's super important in this regard to stay woke, in a sense of being in the know of how we can help and how we can contribute, because, it's like Tui said, they're not even going to the main dock anymore. There is Kanaka monitored surveillance docks and beaches that they're using because the government can't touch it. I watch videos of jet skis bringing shit in, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like if there is any people that is going to be resilient people to take care of their people when push comes to shove and we need it, it's going to be us. But I think that if anything, it's on a wider scope. We need to take that kind of energy and pour it into everything else that we're about, because we're a force to be reckoned with. And I'm always running with that energy, that if we really as a people rooted ourselves and got confident in what we bring to the table, untouchable, period. So anyways, yeah, I'm pissed about it, but I'm very passionate about our people, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud. I'm not Kanaka by any means, but I have such a profound love and respect for, the Hawaiian culture. And I have family in Waianae too, West Side Dummy all the time. Like I know, like I love Hawaii for what it is, but it's like to see, I'm not the least bit surprised that outer islands are showing up, because you know why? Because we get them, and that's how that is. We take care of ours when we need to, and it's a beautiful thing. So the silver lining is focusing on that love, and then how we can pour into that, as opposed to being pissed about the government, because screw them. I'm not happy about it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Just to give you guys an idea really quick of how quick the fire was, my cousin had FaceTimed me and Sarah, and like she was like, look at the fire. We literally watched this thing jump from a grove of trees, like over the power lines onto Front Street. Now Front Street is the main street where all the businesses are over in Lahaina. So like literally like from, I don't even know like how far, but it was so quick, and like it was like that, and my cousin was like, I gotta go. And then like within an hour, we see it on the news. We're trying to get a hold of our families. Like it was so quick that like people were the people that were jumping in the water, they were pulling out bodies up until about 4 days ago. Like, so it was so quick. And the people that were pulling out the bodies in the first 3 days were us. It was our people. We were pulling the bodies because nobody had showed up yet, just to give everybody an idea of what was going on.
Damn. All right. Thank you for sharing that too.
Sorry. I'm going to add, can I add 2 more cents to that? In addition to that, can we talk about how Biden didn't get active until Maui started to get a little bit more cell phone service and more footage was surfacing? People were posting more about, the damage that was happening, people that were filming even though they didn't have service. And once they started, all of a sudden, we waited how long? Like my thing is that it's like, sorry, that's it. It just annoys the shit out of me. That it took people putting his ass out to show that he wasn't present. And then even furthermore, he said, me and my wife are going to visit eventually, but no date. Bro, you should have been there last week.
Our governor was gone. Like the president gave us $700. Our governor wasn't even here. and then he showed up like 2 days into the disaster. So like, I don't like none of it.
Yeah.
He still hasn't said where he was.
He was on vacation, I believe, when it happened, and I think when he got back, the reporter asked him what to comment about Maui, and he said no comment and kept it moving.
Yeah, like where, like you don't got any cell phone service where you are, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, but I see Iona for here for the first time in the live chat. Hey, thank you, Iona, for watching. I just recognized you being here brand new. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll pass it to you, Savage. Savage, what's your thoughts on the Joe Biden sending $700 per household to the Maui victims affected by the fire?
Well, that's not surprising. And, this is going to definitely come off as cold, but, it is what it is because I'm a student of history, right? But yet I'm ancestral. Both of the ideologies, they clash, right? And if I'm being honest, if I'm ancestral, one could look at this as Pele's rage for the tourism, the displacement, disenfranchisement for all the years. But logically, conspiracy, speculation, whatever you want to call it, I've been tagged to it many times by my followers. And the only reason why I stayed away from it was because out of fear of enraging my brothers and sisters of the Kanaka Maoli. But if this was natural, yeah, by all means, there probably wouldn't be a death toll because they would have seen it coming, right? But because I believe it was unnatural, the question would be the motive, right? I wouldn't be surprised if land development comes in about 6 months, that they would develop the land faster than that fire took it out, right? Because of my understanding of what Hawaii is to America. It's a military staple. It's the protection to our backyard. And so 2 things that come out of Hawaii is tourism and military expansion when it comes to economy. If we do not have those 2 things, there's no reason to be in Hawaii thinking like them, right? Now, one of my early teachers, unofficially, Dr. Haunani K. Trask, has often talked about this: infiltration, destabilization, and then establishment. Native Americans know this very well. European settlers came in, they got friendly with the natives, learned the language, picked up the culture, and understood the rituals, became one of them. Next thing you know, they go back to base, give the information, and say, hey, this is what they're into, this is what they like, we can create a market. Go back, and what did they do? They pit 2 tribes against each other, and then next thing you know, they go to war, killing each other. One tribe wins, and hey, because you won, we want to offer this thing to you that can help build your, society, creating the economy, therefore making establishment. Now, if Hawaii teaches us anything as PI people, this is what woke is. If you honestly are going to sit there and believe, cause did the fire come and the bounce and did everything burn down? That's one way to look at it. But financially beneficial, what would anybody have to gain off of something like this? Well, once again, military expansion and tourism. If we can capitalize on that, is it a staple in the American economy? And by all means, I wouldn't believe we're backed by gold. Petroleum's doing dog shit, right? Oil's not up there. What else can we use? Well, military has always been a staple in America. How many wars have we lost? I don't know. But I know this, we're in business and we're booming. And what is Hawaii once again? A military staple. Now, I don't know anything about Lahaina, but I will tell you this. What else would you have to gain if you were to rebuild there as Kanaka, right? Well, this is the ancestral land, the home of my ancestors. This belongs to me. But if you can't eat off of it, what can you do? I can sell it. Would that be the goal? Would that be the goal to sell it? If I buy this land off of you, I'll give you a home in Las Vegas. You can move to the mainland. What then happens to that place? I don't know. Infiltration, destabilization, once again, establishment. This is how I'm thinking, because it is unnatural how any of that happened. Honestly, to me, I haven't been to that part of Hawaii, but humidity would dictate that fire came unnaturally to me. I would think, I would guess, but I don't know how electrical lines are set up, and the brush or the vegetation. All of those things are factors, but mark my words. Do not be surprised in 6 months' time, maybe less than that, how fast it's going to be developed and how much more advancing it's going to be there. We might forget about this. It's not on purpose. That's me.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Savage. Thank you for sharing that. Alves, I know you're from New Zealand. And do you want to add on to that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I want to speak on. And I'm going to speak to the man of the people of Hawaii. And if this sounds harsh, I would really need you to reanalyze how westernized your perspective have become. I come from an island where we have typhoon season every year. Okay, so our people have, over time, learned how to deal with typhoons every Christmas, essentially. There's a 3-month period where the land is battered and there are lives lost. Now, when I look at Hawaii, it's not that I'm saying, I don't sympathize nor empathize. A completely different point. I want to speak to the mana of Hawaii. You need a leader who says, fuck you, Biden. You and your people have been victors, and I accept you by the mana of my people that you have been victorious. However, my people needs mana. And therefore, the focus should be to be rebuilt. We can look at it from a westernized perspective and say, this is a unnatural fire that has been planned. Or we can look at it as a cycle of life, whether natural or unnatural. And the mana of the people who have died have now soaked the land and blessed it. It is time to rebuild. Fuck all the European establishment that has been put in place to fight against your people. It is time to gather around and figure out how the fuck we're going to rebuild this place and preserve it for those who have been affected. That is what Hawaii need right now. And as much as Biden, look, as far as I know and as far as I've seen government in the US and witness what the impact have been here, they do not give a fuck about the people until it is close to election. They really don't. So I don't know why people are so surprised that for some reason Biden is only doing certain things at a certain time. Gather your people, restore their mana, work on the land. The fire, whether planned or unplanned, has now nutrified that land. It is now more sacred than has ever been. This is your knowledge. This is the knowledge of your ancestors. It's time to rebuild. Grieve and do whatever it is that you must do, but no one's coming to help you. And I will never ever expect a man or woman who don't share the same complexion as me to understand my plight. It is only a bonus if they do.
Okay.
And that's all I'm
Really
going to say.
quick, nobody, for everyone in the chat, anyone who watches this, nobody in Hawaii is waiting for government intervention. We didn't expect it. We don't want it. And we are figuring out our own way to rebuild without government intervention. So for anyone who does want to help, like, you can go to my page. There are links to several different organizers. You can donate your time. You can donate supplies. You can even donate money, where this money will go directly to the build. Now we're starting to rebuild. We're starting to build temporary shelters for the next 6 to 12 months until we are able to build for our families. But like, for anyone who wants to support, please, follow 808 Viral. I know everyone will remember that. And then, figure out how you can help if you want to.
Tui, I had a question for you. I saw this on online. because I've never been to Maui before. But my question is, how come the rich people, the big homes weren't affected, but only that small portion of that land was affected?
That is a good question, but I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna let everyone know that there are a lot of parts, because people believe that Hawaii is all green. That's not the case.
Yeah.
So here on the west side of Oahu and the west side of Maui as well, it's very dry. We have a lot of dry brush. We do have fires here, mostly in the summertime, which we're coming out of. So there are fires, but we've never had like the hurricane winds, like the blowback from the hurricane. Like the winds were like they were kicking up to like 200 to 500 miles an hour outside, and when they got to us, they were like, they carried that fire so quick. Like it's super dry during the summer in certain places in Hawaii. The Big
Yeah.
Island is also like a matchbox. It's like one cigarette butt away from so I cannot tell you why those homes, and I don't want to mention like the neighborhoods or anything, but I don't know why though there's a particular set of homes that weren't affected. I mean, their roofs, which I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But like Front Street and like that area around the harbor, and like that area was like it went up in flames, and like there was no time. I don't. Yeah.
Natasha, you want something to say?
So according to and this is just stuff that I've read and from videos that I've seen. So what they're doing is they're trying to put it on the electric company. So one of the things about Maui, what I learned is that they are currently in a drought season. So the drought season with the 60-mile-an-hour winds from Hurricane Dora, and the loose power lines or whatever, that's what they're blaming it on. So that's why the fire was centralized, and why it was just in that enclosed area is what they're saying, is because all it took was 2 power lines to fall over, and then the brush from them being in a drought season is what triggered that. But I also again, it's kind of based on what we went through out here. It was the same thing where they were trying to blame the electric company as well, and the government also too. The PG&E out here had to they were put on trial. They had to go to court. There was a whole big thing, and I've been seeing in articles and stuff that they've been trying to also put that on the electric company on Maui, saying and that they weren't servicing the power lines, and then you see people posting videos of how they were teetering and whatnot. So not to say that's the right exactly what happened or why the fire was centralized to just Lahaina, but that's the narrative that's being put out as to why just that one specific area, and the other small fires scattered around Maui, because there was 3 others were really little and small.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But for everyone who was there, the
Right.
power lines were down all over.
Yes.
And so, I don't want to get into all of that on here, just because it's a lot to unpack, and because I'm not a resident of Maui, my family is, but I'm gonna say they lost their homes, my cousins, my brother, my uncles, their homes are gone. And it at this point, they're I'm just gonna speak for my family and my friends there who did lose their homes. They're this is what happened. We want to rebuild. What can we do? So everyone, I don't want to speak for everyone, but the people that we have come across, in different encampment areas when we were in Maui, is that their whole attitude is, what can we do now, and what are we gonna do moving forward long term? Because everyone is wanting to volunteer and do all this really great stuff, which is good, but nobody's thinking, everyone who's volunteering and sending stuff is awesome, but nobody's thinking long term, because we are going to need things long term. So eventually everyone's going to forget the Maui fires, and their generosity is going to simmer, and after that, that's when it really matters, is the rebuild. So yeah.
Okay. Savage, and then we'll conclude the pod after that. Go ahead, Savage.
Yeah, I'm pretty no matter what, the context is important. And I hope and pray that my brothers and sisters, they come looking for it, that they come looking for the context. But commit this word to memory. Eminent domain. It's very important. Eminent domain, because legally the government doesn't have to disclaim that they are giving an act of eminent domain. But if they take that money, right, you're basically becoming an employee, and you're basically being paid to develop the land that the government is going to end up using to develop later. And I'm telling you, give it 6 months, and that place is going to be up and running again, if not a year. Eminent domain. That money isn't a resource. It's not. Uh, I'm just sorry because I'm such a student of history, especially American history, that if the Kanaka take that money, this is an act of eminent domain. It doesn't matter if they can pay it back. They're accepting that their land is going to be, for all intents and purpose, it's going to be bought. And they're not being told that. But that's just me as a conspiracist. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. No worries. Thank you for sharing, Savage. But yeah, what's up? Thank you for everybody that's currently on the live stream. Man, all you guys, shout out to you guys. I wish my sound effects were working. Working. I would definitely give you guys all a shout out. You guys, some of you guys were on the chat the entire 3-hour stream, so I appreciate you guys watching, supporting the show, supporting. Some of you guys got here because of the guests on the show, so thank you for supporting the guests for all the topics that we discussed tonight. And yeah, we've come to the end. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And everybody out there, if you guys want to be part of the after show that we're gonna do after this, definitely click on that link. And if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions or any comments you guys want to discuss with us, we'll do it once we end the stream. So you can still click on the screen. So let me pass to the guests. Final thoughts for tonight's stream. Thank you so much as always. Appreciate you guys. I know it's our first stream together after I think 8 months. I think the last stream was like last year. So it's good to see the gang. It's good to see the gang back, the Poly gang back on here with the Wednesday Hot Topic show. So it's good to see everybody. But yeah, final thoughts and how can people find you? And of course, Tui, definitely share the links to and the IG handles for people if they're interested to donate their time and resources. Definitely share that. So one more time, and if you want to drop it in the chat, definitely drop it in the chat. But I'll start with you, Tui. Final thoughts and how can people find you?
My final thoughts are I still can't do podcasts right. I apologize, everybody. Being woke is no joke. But yeah. I think what I mean, I don't think I'm taking away anything from this that I think we all didn't already agree on. I think we're all kind of on the same page. But I do want to reiterate that being woke can be a good thing. If you educate yourself and do the research, don't just watch these really cringy TikToks and listen to dumbasses and think that is okay. Social media should be used as a tool, and it's definitely full of tools. So I think everyone needs to do their due diligence and know the difference between what's right and wrong for yourself, for your children. And if you want to don't find me. Follow Hawaii News Report because that is a hub for information right now on how you can help anyone in Maui if you want to. Also follow 808 Viral, and it'll keep you updated on all of the latest happenings and what we're doing in Maui.
All right. Thank you too, as always. Appreciate that. Pass it to Natasha. Final thoughts, and how can people find you, Natasha?
I mean, I'm not that important to find on social media, but my handle's right here. That's my Instagram. And final thoughts. I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be on a panel that I get to catch Tui, Sab, and Paula Fissa. So thank you, Will, for having me, and for everybody being receiving of my input and my perspective of things, and for the space remaining respectful. It's one of my favorite things about this. We can all be indifferent and come from different places, but this is always a safe space. So appreciate y'all.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Natasha, as always. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it to fellas. Final thoughts, and that's how we do. Savage, final thoughts, and how can people find you, Savage?
Woke. I don't know what it is anymore, but I will tell you this, man. If woke, right, the revolution will not be televised. That's because it's being posted on social media. But yeah, man. I don't know what woke is anymore, but I knew what it was growing up, and this ain't that. Prayers to Hawaii right now. And to my Tongans, man, I love being Tongan. I love my Tongans. I just provoke you into thinking. That's it. It's my perspective. So no matter what you say, I'm still Tongan. I don't need you to validate that, but I'm deleted off TikTok, so you win. But I'm not done. I'm rebuilding, so find me on TikTok. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you. Will, Toko, Malo Apito. It's always an honor and a pleasure, man.
Of course, Savage. The honor is mine for you guys making the time to be part of this. Thank you so much. Paulo Fessa, last final thoughts, and how can people find you? And no one's going to find you. Go ahead, Paulo Fessa.
Yeah, they'll find me. My final thoughts is not so much on the topic, but just the dynamic that we have in these panels, especially tonight's panel, right? And I think Natasha touched on this earlier on, was that it's very important that we have these conversations regardless of where we stand on the spectrum of opinions and ideologies, right? It is to be able to have a civil discussion and conversation on how we look at the world and the things that we align with and the things that we don't, and being able to accept that not everyone's going to agree with what we believe in, and that's okay. I think that's part of being a balanced human being, is that we find all the different perspective. We look into it, we have some reservation, and then create and formulate our own ways and our own pathways for life. There are things that are subjective, there are things that are very objective in nature, but it's these conversations that helps us determine which is what. To the panel, I really appreciate your time and sharing this conversation with me. And I appreciate your mana and Will. Again, always a pleasure to be part of these Dalanoa, and thank you for having me again.
No worries. Thank you so much, Paulo Fessa. Quick question. After Joe Biden's reaction in response to how he handled Maui, is anybody here still a Democrat? Or are you going to come to the dark side, join the Republicans, join Trump? Well,
cricket.
Which is the lesser evil?
Yeah, I vote for my king.
Come over to the dark side, y'all. It's time to come over. Look, Iona says that Trump 2024. All right, but nevertheless, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much, everybody, in the live chat, and shout out to you guys. Especially everybody, Rose, and I saw a couple names that have been watching the entire stream. So, man, appreciate you guys, man. Taking the time to watch this, and and for us, that shows that you guys are committed to the content and the value that we bring, having these conversations. So, thank you so much. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're new to the show, don't forget we do 4 streams. I have 4 shows weekly. Today's Hot Topic Wednesdays. Tomorrow, you can join me and the Paulo Fessa and some fellas. the Masculine Mind podcast, where we focus on men, masculinity, self-improvement, and purpose. On Fridays, I'm going to be inviting some panel Pacific Islanders, and we talk about a variety of different issues and topics within the Pacific Islander community. I know Savage is going to join me real soon, and he'll be joining me on the Fridays podcast. And of course, on Saturdays, for all the single people out there, we're going to talk about modern dating relationships, and you're going to see your girl Natasha. She's going to be here down in the studio on Saturday, so we're going to be having some. We're going to be debating some modern women on Saturday. So I got
I'm
somebody.
bringing my own water. I just need to make that clear. So listen, don't can me an ipuke because I'm gonna pour my water in it just so.
Oh shit!
And if I show up with shades, then I might be game, but we'll see.
Oh, we need a toa. Hey, do you need a toa? So just
That's what I'm saying, though.
Oh, yeah, Natasha's gonna be the doa.
Yo.
Okay. All right. No, just identify as a doa, Natasha. Just identify as a doa.
Hey, bro. If you get a panel of women, I'll be the toa. Just let me know.
Oh yeah. When you come down, we'll make it happen.
I mean, if you're gonna be, please.
All right, but nevertheless, Iona said I'm gonna have to hop on soon. Yeah, don't forget this is a public show, so it's open to everybody. You guys can be part of the conversation, and also don't forget if you want to join us after the show, the link. Let me post the link right now. All right. I'm doing something new. I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, if you guys want to join us after the show and have a conversation, maybe you don't want to be on the live stream where it's public, but if you want to join us after the show, you can click on that link and join us, and you guys can talk to us after. All right, so I'm doing something new, but that content after the show is only going to be posted on my locals account. But the public live stream is going to be on, of course, on YouTube and the different channels. So if you want to be part of the conversation, and when I go offline, click on that link and join us. If you want to ask us questions or you want to debate us or anything you want to ask us. But nevertheless, I appreciate you guys. Thank you to all my subscribers out there, and tune in for tomorrow and the different shows. And I'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Peace. Next time. All right. See y'all. Okay, end podcast.